After 3 days in the dizzying heights of the Alps, the Tour headed to the flatter roads in the south of France, allowing the yellow jersey dreamers a chance to recover. A breakaway ruined the chances for the sprinters in one of the hottest days of the Tour, and with no yellow jersey contenders in that group, they were allowed to escape. Pushed by the relentless power of Jens Voigt of CSC, the breakaway succeeded, and Frenchman quick-step rider Cedric Vasseur sprinted across the line first. The flat roads continue in stage 11. As the green jersey battle rages on, will the sprinters have their day, or will a breakaway spoil their chances yet again? It all happens right now on Firsts. This is the Saab Tour pre-race show, and today, Stage 11 begins in the busy port city of Marseille, makes its way across the Camargue, past some of the most famous Languedoc vineyards in all the world, to the finish line here in Montpellier. It's a pretty long stage, it's going to be a hot stage, and it is a flat stage. Welcome to our Versus Mobile studio, which will make it all 2,200 miles. Al Trautwig along with Bob Roll. You might be saying, hey, those are the same trees from yesterday or the day before. No, these are Montpellier trees, and we're in a parking lot just next to the finish line for stage 11 today. Sprinter stage today, and these are hot stages that continue to just sap the energy fuel tank of everybody.
These are very tough stages, but for the sprinters, it's one of the last chances that they have before we get into the Pyrenees and the second set of mountains in the Tour and the time trials. Don't forget, sprinters have no chance there. Their teams pay them a lot of money. They want them to deliver, and today is one of their last chances.
Now, the Alpine stages left the yellow jersey contenders feeling pretty tired, but yesterday some of the guys who also survived the mountains went over some of the smaller climbs in stage 10. We got to see some of the most gorgeous coastline just outside of Marseille, the small little village of Cassis there, Attack. 11 men pulled away from the peloton.
And here is Patrice Algon going on the second to last climb, a category 3, pretty tough little climb. Albacini making the reaction immediately, but it took Jens Voigt and the others a long time to catch up. That's Vasseur and Jens Voigt, and they would make the juncture with Sandy Cassar, and these 5 men would go over the last time together, and they would sprint it out for the stage win.
And the finish. A lot of gamesmanship and a misplay by Jens Voigt.
Jens Voigt forced to lead it out. The other riders in the breakaway, knowing he's the strongest man, probably in that breakaway, depending on how much work has been done. And Cedric Vasseur in the blue on the left-hand side of your screen, anticipating the sprint. Bad luck for Boonen. Great luck for quick-step Sandy Cassar. Oh, so close. That might be FDJ's only chance for a stage win in this year's Tour.
Nice way to maybe cap off a career for Cedric Vasseur. Now, we sent the Rollustrator in the off-season to Osaka, Japan to be improved, and boy, did they do a good job.
The Rollustrator is in fine form for this year's Tour. You can see Voigt, he's leading it out. Everybody's looking over their shoulder. Who's going to move first? Voigt is waiting for the first move, and everyone expecting the move to come to the left-hand side of the road. And Voigt over his left shoulder, waiting for it. He is wrong, actually. Vasseur, seeing the little window of opportunity on the right-hand side, goes straight up the barriers. He gets this jump, no more than a couple of meters advantage, but no one can come back to him, surprising the rest in the breakaway. Cassar much faster, but Vasseur much trickier, much better tactics.
So a lot for the French cycling fans to cheer about, but no one was within striking distance of the yellow jersey. That is why the peloton allows those 11 men to break away, so nothing changes for Le Maillot Jaune. It's on the body of Michael Rasmussen and Rabobank for yet another day. Here are the overall standings presented by Michelob Ultra. Valverde, Mayo, and Evans don't change. Neither does Alberto Contador.
Nobody in the top 10 making any movements at all, losing or gaining time. So Moreau, Sastre, Cloden, and Levi Leipheimer, the American rider, rounding out the top 9 there, and Kim Kirchen in 10th.
Here's the rest of the Americans, and not a pretty story for David Zabriskie. 1 hour, 42 minutes, 49 seconds behind. So we come to what we think is going to be a sprint stage. We've lost some key sprinters. One would be Oscar Freire of Rabobank. The other would be Robbie McEwen of the Lotto team. So that leaves the likely candidates of, say, Thor Hushovd and Tom Boonen. Let's start first with Thor Hushovd. Maybe physically he didn't feel great, but he survived the Alps, and he's shown that he still has a little spark in those legs in this Tour.
Well, you do not win the green jersey in the Tour de France without being a fantastically gifted fast man. Very tough Viking, Thor Hushovd from Norway. He won the stage into Joigny a few days ago. Robbie Hunter barely getting him. and Tor Hushovd. That was a great result for Credit Agricole. I think he's going to be up there again on today's stage. Here is big Tom Boonen following the wheels. Oscar Freire trying to get around the big Belgian. That is not going to happen into Bourg-en-Bresse. This is a very powerful sprint. Tom Boonen going from a long ways out, but nobody able to come around. Those men will lock horns at the end of today's stage if there are no breakaways.
And it's always difficult in any sport when people think you're going to do something to do it. But we think Tor Hushovd and Tom Boonen will be involved. One other man might be involved as well. For many years, he's been a favorite of the sprints, and who knows, maybe someone will pick him when we come back. And we're joined by Phil Liggett and Paul Sherwen for our Saab performance predictions. As we go to break, some of the gorgeous images of Marseille. Boy, did this place look great on television. This is the Tour on Versus.
The 2007 Tour de France pre-race on Versus is presented by Saab. Once you've built jets, you don't build just another car. Saab, born from jets.
Saab was founded by 16 aircraft engineers. Their spirit lives on in the turbocharged 2007 Saab 9.3 Sport Combi. With all the storage space you need, an estimated 30 miles per gallon, and a starting price under $29,000, you're closer to owning a jet than you think. Saab, born from jets. Log on to Versus.com/fly to the finish for your chance to win a 2007 Saab 9.3 Sport Combi and a new Cervelo bike.
This summer, Versus is bringing the stars, the stripes, the painkillers. It's gonna be a red, white, black, and blue summer.
It's just something that you're either willing to accept or you're not.
The toughest athletes are gonna dish it out and take it on the chin. The competition is on, and the cost of victory is paid. The Versus red, white, black, and blue summer. The suffering continues.
Pain's a good thing sometimes.
All summer long.
Stage 11 of the Tour de France, and we continue to move across the south of the country from Marseille to Montpellier. And in fact, Paul Sherwen and he and Phil Liggett join us. This is a lot like what we saw in London, pretty flat.
Pretty flat, but almost as warm as it was in London, actually, as we leave London well behind. We're now right down in the very heart of the south of France and circumnavigating the most beautiful area of the Camargue, leaving Marseille in the morning to head down to Montpellier. And this should really be a sprinter's delight. 182 kilometers of flatlands.
Yes, even I'd be a great climber today. Marseille, Montpellier, about the same as Providence, Rhode Island, to Manchester in New Hampshire, 112 miles. The last finish here, it was won by Robin McEwen, sadly eliminated in the Alps. A couple of intermediate sprints and one fourth category climb.
Well, yesterday...
Sorry, Al, I'm butting in again. I didn't mean
Feel free anytime. It's all of our show. Well, yesterday we had that rare moment when a breakaway actually did succeed. Today, is there any chance that a breakaway would succeed?
I don't think that there is a chance today. I think that the opportunity was yesterday out of the mountains, and now the sprinters teams are going to take over and control again.
So this is a day again where we don't learn anything about the yellow jersey, most likely.
Well, I think everybody in the yellow jersey race is going to sit back and wait until we get to the big time trial stage. For those guys, they're starting to build up already for the weekend, thinking about how much time they're going to lose, how much time they're going to win. And so I think it will be, as Bob says, back to the sprinters who don't really get very many more chances between now and Paris.
All the time that Rabobank spent in the front yesterday, doing all that work, cutting through the wind that was out there in Provence, do you think that that shows that they really don't believe that they're going to need that extra energy in the mountains? You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying. You know, these transitional stages, as the riders call them, are quite strength-sapping because it's very, very hot. Today, we could get thunder today. It's very heavy now and humid. And that these boys are getting tired. And that just how good the Rabobank team is. They were very good in the first 10 days of this tour. But now, are they going to take Rasmussen well into the Pyrenees? We'll find out.
With some of the key sprinters out, it becomes equally difficult to pick who's going to win. But we make the transition anyway to our Saab performance predictions. Paul Sherwen has a story for us.
Well, let me just interrupt you, Al, because yesterday there was a breakaway. One man predicted the breakaway, and one man predicted that big Jens Voigt was going to be in it. And down to the last 500 meters, Voigt was still there looking for 4 points. Still, with 200 meters to go, he was in 4th place looking for 1 point for Bob Roll, but unfortunately, he ended up finishing 5th out of 5. I've decided to give one of my points to Bob Roll, so Bob can have 5 points, and I'm taking one away because he was so good.
I love it.
No, wait a minute. You can't just arbitrarily decide that.
Why?
Since when has the Maillot been able to dictate the rules of the race? Al, let's have a vote. I suggest that we totally object to this. I hope you all agree, but show of hands. That's it.
I suppose so.
You can't object to your own move.
3-1.
All right,
Sorry,
Bob needs
Bob,
a little help.
Take no offence, Bob.
So Bob now
Take
picks
offence if you
first,
like,
and here are the standings. Paul Sherwen continues to lead. I thought we took a point away. Now we got it back. 17, 9, 7, and 4. So on we go, and Bob's got the first pick today. And you can't pick Eric Zabel. You can't.
I'm going to pick Eric Zabel. Eric Zabel's going to win today's stage, and I will tell you why. Big controversy in Germany. This guy is a superstar of the sport, a tremendous amount of charisma. It's been a while since he's been able to produce, but this year he's on good form, and I think that Eric Zabel will want to bring the German fans back into the sport and give them something special, something to cheer about rather than jeer about. Watch for Zabel to be up there and win the sprint. Finally, he's been very close throughout this tour. Do you not believe, Al? You'll see. Seeing is believing. You're going to see it today.
Uber alles.
It's a gift for you, Phil.
It is, thanks, Bob. I'm having a bad run. I mean, I can't get anybody near the front at the moment. I'll never listen to David Miller again, I know that. So today I'm going for Big Tom Bonan. It's normally Paul who grabs him. I honestly don't think he'll win today, but he'll be very close. So I should get some points out of this. I hope so, Al.
Meanwhile, the only time in my life that Lance Armstrong ever reacted to anything that I did was back in the day when I picked Thor Hushovd. So I'm going to pick the tradition again today. Yes. He has shown the ability to win a stage. He has shown the ability. Yesterday he was right there with Boonen. I think he's got some legs. I think this is a stage for him.
Al, are you not watching the same pictures that we're watching? Are you
He's
seeing
been better than Zabel.
Thor Hushovd yesterday? Did you not see Thor Hushovd going back to the race doctor? Did you not see Thor Hushovd holding his neck? Holding his... Fine, it's good.
One question, was he better than Zabel so far? Yes, he was.
Okay.
Go ahead, your pick.
I picked last. Well, you've all picked the sprinters that I wanted to pick, so I've decided to pick a sprinter who was a phenomenal sprinter a few years ago, and he's the lead-out man for one Robbie McEwen. I'm going to go to the other side of the pond for Freddie Rodriguez. And you might think, well, why are you picking Freddie Rodriguez? He crashed, he had 16 stitches into his arm, but I have a funny feeling that Fast Freddie will remember this finish line here in Montpellier, because a couple of years ago he was third here.
Would this finish be to his liking? That's the question.
Absolutely.
Well, we'll take a break. Picks being complete, we'll see what happens here in stage 11. They're getting set here in Montpellier in every individual way they can. Phil and Paul have the call next.
The 2007 Tour de France pre-race on Versus is presented by Saab. Once you've built jets, you don't build just another car. Saab, born from jets.
The Cervelo SLC SL is a pure climbing machine. Learn more and enter to win the Cervelo Dream Bike at competitivecyclist.com.
What it wants. Always ask for Pennzoil. Get a 5-quart jug of Pennzoil high mileage vehicle motor oil at Walmart for only $12.22.
When you take it off, you're gonna like what you see.
Scotch Blue Painter's Tape. Goes on easy, comes off clean, leaving professional paint lines. Scotch Blue Painter's Tape.
That's Rusty Wallace, amazing driver. He's also my third cousin once removed. That's his brother, Mike Wallace, driver of the Geico Chevrolet. I could see why Geico sponsors Mike. And when he does well, people will think about saving money on car insurance. Whereas if I were driving that car, all they could think about is, there goes Lauren Wallace, greatest thing that ever climbed into a race car. Poor fella. He has no idea.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Introducing the biggest stride in sports drinks in over 30 years. New Accelerate with protein. Proven to increase endurance up to 29% over your old sports drink. So while others fade, you can stay strong. Sweat smarter. Don't fade. Accelerate.
Hey.
Bicycle Village, the ultimate bike shop. Bicycle Village has Colorado's largest selection of bikes, from tandems to trikes to top-end bikes. All the best brands and the largest selection. Over 1,000 bikes set up and ready to ride from the brands you want, like Trek, Specialized, Raleigh, Lightspeed, and more. Only Bicycle Village offers same-day bike service to get you back on your bike quicker. Plus lifetime tunes and an unbeatable performance guarantee on every bike we sell. And we always guarantee the lowest prices. Bicycle Village, the ultimate bike shop.
The fun begins where the road ends. Take a ride in the adventurous Toyota 4Runner. Get $1,500 cash back on a new 07 4Runner. Toyota, a smart way to keep moving forward.
A breakaway chain gang of 5 took their escape all the way to the line, leaving the sprinters in the dust. This is going to be a very tight finish, and Vasseur made the move. But today, the fast men are sure to come out in droves. It is the flattest stage in this year's tour, and these speed demons will definitely take advantage of the horizontal pavement. With Tom Bonan still in green, he will have the rest of the sprinters nipping at his wheels for a chance to steal it from him. The Tornado cannot miss a beat if he wants to hold on to the title of Best Sprinter. Join us as we continue our journey through the south of France, next on Versus. Yes, clear blue sky, somebody's turned the temperature up in the oven yet again. They call it the south of France. We're crossing, in fact, from Marseille to Montpellier. We go around one of the most beautiful natural areas of France, the Camargue. This is stage 11 now. It is a very flat stage. Maybe the sprinters will have their day. Certainly these fans expect it that way. This is Norway's supporters for Thor Hushovd. I hate to tell them, but he's complaining of a little bit of a sore throat. If he gets there, that's the finishing straight he might get a shot at winning at. Yes, welcome back. Good morning, America. I'm Phil Liggett. This is Paul Sherwen, and we continue with our live coverage here on the Tour de France. Well, yesterday, yes, the French got a stage win, but we're more interested now in the top 10 riders in this race, because I believe, Paul, that any of the top 9 certainly can win this Tour de France.
Well, yesterday, all of the top contenders, they sat in the field trying to save as much energy as possible, because, yes, they are all very close together in the overall classification. If you take out Michael Rasmussen, who I think will lose big time in the individual time trial, Alejandro Valverde is the pretender for the victory. But Cadel Evans is not looking for that much time, just 6 seconds for him. Andries Kloden is always going to be dangerous. He's 3:50 back. But Levi Leipheimer is only looking for 1 minute and 18 seconds in the individual time trial. And so far, I think in this year's Tour, he hasn't really put a foot wrong. And don't discount Alexander Vinokourov. In 21st place, he can still do something if he can get over the problem that we're hearing from the race doctors is, in fact, he's still suffering with those 2 knees.
Well, Vinokourov is a tough man. Leipheimer will have to do something in the time trial. He's always told us he's going to attack in the Pyrenees, and we're getting very close to the Pyrenees. Now, tomorrow, we start to tickle them. We have a second category climb tomorrow. But today, yes, it's pan flat. It should be a battle for that green jersey. Yesterday, Tom Boonen, although he missed the break, did score well, and he's still top of that leaderboard.
Well, for Tom Boonen, he knows if you want to win the green jersey competition, you've actually got to chip away on every stage, even if it's not for the win. And yesterday, he actually pulled out a big sprint to try and get himself 12th place. But Eric Zabel is still in there. He's a long way behind. 160 plays 144 points. And Robbie Hunter, the South African rider there, is looking back quite good in 3rd place with 114. But today, being a flat stage, there's an awful lot of sprints available. 2 intermediate sprints at La Fare-les-Oliviers and another sprint at Arles will give the riders 6, 4 and 2 points. But on these flat stages, it's all racked up on the finish line. From 1st to 5th, you go from 35 points to 22 points. Going down right to the finish of 25th place, you can take home a single point.
So that's how you do it. And just moments ago, look at this, the French hope, Christophe Moreau. has fallen. Apparently he tangled with his teammate Simon Gerrans of Australia, and they went down. He seems okay. He's back in the peloton. Our cameras weren't there for the crash, which is unusual because he's a Frenchman. But he's in the back of the field, a field which is very angry today. They have really flown almost 51 kilometers covered in the first hour. We've had a big breakaway. They wouldn't let it go. They've chased it down, and they're just about to catch the last survivor of that breakaway at the moment, Sylvain Chavanel. There he is. We normally see him in that polka dot leader's jersey, but now he's dropped away in that competition. And the riders here sort of signalling time out, I think here. Yeah. Paul, he's had enough.
Definitely, we're looking for a little bit of time out. We've seen, you don't see that very often nowadays in the sport of professional cycling. It used to happen definitely a lot when I was racing, and somebody's decided he doesn't want to conform to that little bit of time out. We have, Phil, had a very fast start. Everybody is looking to try and get a breakaway clear here this afternoon, but I think the teams of the sprinters have actually tried to keep it together to make sure none of those breakaways got more than a minute advantage over the front end of the main field.
That's absolutely right. In fact, we're just leaving the lovely little town here of Mozanne-les-Alpilles, and they reached it 6 minutes ahead of the fastest expected time of arrival. That gives you some idea that they're not treating this stage across the bottom of France lightly, and just getting on with the race.
Well, just at the back of the race, 161, a second on the stage yesterday. Sandy Cassar has decided to go back to the car and pick up some drinking bottles to dispense them throughout the team for his teammates. But this slowing down is something that is not very common in the sport these days. And in fact, I don't think anybody's too keen on going that direction either, because there's a lot of riders feel that, you know, this could be a very good chance for a breakaway to succeed. The sprinters, on the other hand, they want to have a chance to win. They know they don't have a chance tomorrow because they've got that big second category climb towards the end. So Tom Boonen knows he won't get over that, and so too does Robbie Hunter. And of course, they will be worried about Eric Zabel, because that could be a kind of stage for Zabel to pull himself back into the green jersey points classification. But this has been pretty much, Phil, the scenario since the start. Riders banging it away at the front, trying to get that breakaway clear, scrambling to come back together, then everyone looking, I think, to have an easy day, and bang, somebody else goes straight over the top.
Well, this is all's well for a fast finish today. There was a good breakaway. Daniel Bernardi, we haven't seen all race. We expected him to do something. He was in the move. There's the weather. It's currently 90 degrees. It could get warmer than that once we get out round by the Camargue. Sunny, well, I guess that's a little bit underestimated. It's red hot and blue skies here today. There's the beautiful area. We're looking here at the alpine area of Les Baux de Provence as we cut our way down through by the Camargue today.
Well, this is a fantastic place if you ever get a chance to come and visit here. In fact, it gave its name to the geological term bauxite. Les Baux, L-B-A-U-X, is where this first geological anomaly was discovered. You can see how many riders, though, are left in the race. We started with 189. In fact, we're down to just 170 riders now, because one rider abandoned on the road today, and that was a surprise, because that was the young rider Sylvain Calzati, who rode very well in the Tour de France last year, and that means that we're really now starting to decimate the field.
Well, it certainly is not a day for the AG2R team. They lose a man. They have their best rider fall off with their teammate Simon Gerrans. So it's not been a routine day for them. Fabian Wegman now getting control of the front of the race. There's the names of our heart rate monitor boys today. Sergio Paolini, Ivo Martinez, Christian Nice, Ralph Grabsch and Marcus Burkhardt. Same boys as yesterday. And now it looks as though we've got Wegman and Philippe Gilbert having a little go here.
Well, Philippe Gilbert is a fairly good sprinter in his own right, but not quite as fast top end as riders like Hunter, Zabel, and of course Tom Boonen himself. But I think he'd be looking for a breakaway group like this. Almost completely flat the race this afternoon. We've gone through the massive fourth category climb, which came very early on, the climb of Calissan. But from here on into the finish, Phil, we've got one more sprint point to go for, and it's very much like a pancake.
Yes, that little climb was won by Bernardi, a sprinter at La Fère, and Moyens was second, and Fedrigo was third. Then at Calissan, which was the hotspot, the small climb, sorry, Sutsu won that. He is another one of these young riders on the Barlow World squad, and was in that breakaway and very active again. Bernardi won the small bonus sprint. Heading for Arles next, which will take us down to 102 kilometres. Well, we've just been through Arles, I think, have we, Paul, or not? No, we're heading to Arles, that's right.
These riders now trying to get advantage. I can see the main field is still snaking along behind. They're not letting anybody have a free ticket off the front end of the main field. Gilbert is the rider in the white who's moving clear ahead there of Fabien Wegman. And Jean-René Bernadotte this morning said if a breakaway goes clear this afternoon, there will be a rider in it from Bouygues Telecom. And in fact, they've been pretty much present in every one of these small attacks. But look how angry the main field is behind. They're not giving any presence.
You know, they're still chasing every move at the moment, and not allowed. The biggest gap that the breakaway of 9 got at one stage, they were 20, was only 1 minute and 20 seconds, and they fought until they cracked that breakaway and they dragged it back in. But these 4 riders are beginning to make a little bit of progress, a little bit of a strong move here. Gilbert, Wegman, Fofanoff, and the rider on the front from Bouygues Telecom is Xavier Florencio. And they are beginning to open up a little gap. This is Wegman we have to thank for this. He was the man that pushed it.
Well, a lot of riders actually, I think, Phil, will be quite keen to come to the front and try and pull back this breakaway, although they are riding exceptionally well. There's a rider there from Sonia Duval has seen that, and in fact it's your favorite rider, David Miller, has seen the gap.
Well, Miller promised us a stage victory. I thought he would have chosen yesterday with those undulations near the finish. It would have suited him. Now we'll see what happens here. This is a big crowd down here in the south of France. And there he is, at Miller, trying to drive across. Is he wearing long sleeves again? Yes, he is wearing long sleeves. Now, the reason for that is he's having this terrible reaction to the sun. And he's never had it before, but his arms are just coming up almost puce in colour. And they are very, very itchy. And it's driving him crazily, frankly. So he's had to cover them up. And that's not a day to have to wear arm covers. It is so, so hot. Well, the way they're paying so much attention today, we really do expect eventually that this race should come down to a bunch sprint, but you can never say that. These boys are going so quick today, they could indeed crack up under the pressure. Anyway, we'll take a short break. Rejoin us as we head towards Montpellier. Little way to go yet.
The 2007 Tour de France on Versus is brought to you by Star Motorcycles. We build it, you make it your own. And by Michelob Ultra. Live life to the ultra. And by Zetia.
Saab was founded by 16 aircraft engineers. Their spirit lives on in the turbocharged 2007 Saab 9.3 Sport Combi. With all the storage space you need, an estimated 30 miles per gallon, and a starting price under $29,000, you're closer to owning a jet than you think. Saab, born from jets. Log on to Versus.com/fly to the finish for your chance to win a 2007 Saab 9.3 Sport Combi and a new Cervelo bike.
Is the IRS ruining your life? Are IRS penalties and interest compounding daily? Stop the cycle now.
Hello, I'm John Harris, president of J.K. Harris & Company, the nation's largest tax representation firm. IRS problems have a way of ruining every aspect of your life if you let them. They don't go away on their own. The IRS can attach your wages, your pension, your savings, even your Social Security check. If penalties and interest have made your IRS problem go from bad to worse, don't despair. Call us now. Our former IRS agents and tax professionals have successfully negotiated settlements, saving our clients millions of dollars.
If you owe the IRS back taxes, don't wait another minute. Call J.K. Harris now.
Meet with a J.K. Harris consultant today and see if you too can qualify to significantly reduce your tax debt.
Call the IRS experts at J.K. Harris now for your free confidential tax settlement analysis.
800-875-8195.
It was known as the Tour of Chaos. This year, who'll get it back on track? Alexander Vinokourov, the most dangerous, determined, aggressive, and holding a grudge. Alejandro Valverde has all the tools to win it, if he can finish. Dennis Menchov, a good rider needs a great team, and he's got one of the best. Levi Leipheimer, new style, new team, and visions of a ninth straight American victory. The real drama continues. The Tour de France, Stage 12, live tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. on Versus.
Hey, Jimmy, need a little help? Sure. You know what else would be good?
Cobalt tools are so comfortable.
Let me use that screwdriver. No.
You just don't want to quit working.
Yeah. What do you think? Great tools.
Cobalt, the next generation of tough tools.
Well, anything else we can do? There's always my wife's car.
Available exclusively at Lowe's.
Announcing an exciting breakthrough in automotive technology. Introducing ZNet, only at AutoZone. ZNet gives every AutoZoner the power to find you the right part faster, along with diagrams, photos, and complete instructions. So you'll get the job done right the first time, every time. Come in for a test drive today. ZNet, available only when you get in the zone. AutoZone.
Welcome back. A quick look at who owns all the leaders' jerseys. Michael Rasmussen's getting his 4th day in the lead now in yellow. Tom Bonen, his 10th day in the green jersey. Alberto Contador, he's now the best young rider on this race on Discovery Channel. And although Rasmussen there also owns the King of the Mountains leaders' jersey, it's on the shoulders of Soler, the Colombian who won in Briançon today. Now back to the race, and there's the green jersey of Tom Bonen, who's got himself to the front. I wonder if he's just trying to bring some little bit of respite to the team after what has been a terrific opening hour and a half of the race today. They really have gone quickly, but now it looks as though that breakaway might run for a little bit now. Well, the move came from Fabian Weckmann, the former King of the Mountains in the Tour of Italy, the new champion of Germany. And Fofanov, Florencio and Gilbert are the riders. It looks as though they may have got it right, Paul, and I'm not too sure where Miller is, but I believe he's been caught.
Well, the funny thing is the race radio is still giving him at 15 seconds, but the race computer is actually saying that he's been caught, so we'll have to have a look down that group to see whether or not Miller was caught or whether he's still halfway across the gap.
Well, I can't see him, but there's our hard-working Grisha Nierman on the front with the bandages for Rabobank. Always the early pacemaker for the team of the race leader, as he also comes up into view, the yellow jersey of Michael Rasmussen up alongside Tom Bonen today.
Well,
Miller is still
there.
away. There he is. So sometimes computers are wrong, Paul. I never knew that.
Well, the thing is, there are two computers. There's the left-hand side and the right-hand side. The left-hand side is saying that he was caught. The right-hand side is saying that he's riding at about 20 seconds behind that leading group of 4 riders. He really, Phil, needs to dig very deep now to get across that gap, because if he doesn't, he'll start to see that gap getting slightly larger. This is an area of France which he really enjoys, because he won a stage of the Tour de France in Béziers, which is not too far down the coast from here.
That sounds a bit of a ride, but the same temperature and almost straight ahead of him, actually. Well, he's got to just bury himself for a minute and get right into the red zone and try and reach those leaders, because there's no doubt the back peloton have shut down. And so if he does get up there, it could make all the difference today. He's promised us a stage win this week. Ever since he finished in the prologue time trial, he said, I know now I'm going good. I will win a stage of the Tour de France this time.
Sad thing is, this is the easy way to get across the gap, because the motorbike here can open up the throttle. We're going across the gap, which David Miller has to use his pedaling action to cross. And this is a very difficult gap. I would say we're looking at 30 seconds if we get another official time check. So, in fact, I would say that David Miller is now starting to lose a little bit of time on these riders. His only hope is they get information from their team managers to say, Miller's coming across, he's a big strong boy, wait for him.
Yes, well, let's have a look. The best placed rider in the breakaway is Dmitry Fofanov. That's him in the light blue colours of Bouygues Telecom, but he's 28 minutes behind Rasmussen, so they're not going to break themselves down just to bring him back into the field yet. So there's a good chance as we're approaching the sprint in Arles now. 2:05, you see they've sat up quite substantially here at the back. This is Miller's big chance. It's not going to be easy, Paul, but he's got to stick to it and hope.
Well, the time check back to Miller is creeping out to the 40-second mark now, and that's going to be very difficult indeed. In the main field, slipping even further back. The official check back to the main field is at 2 minutes and 5 seconds, crackling over race radio. These 4 riders are now settling down into a very good workman-like group. That's the main field. I think probably, Phil, the majority of the riders in that field are quite happy to have a little bit of time out till they pick it up down towards the end.
Well, you can see now the arid countryside here down in the far south of France. The Mediterranean never too far away over the left shoulder of the riders. And they have really closed this down. They were absolutely flying, but it looks as though they don't mind the 4 that have gone away, and they're giving them their chance here. 4 little aggressors might be paying off. Can David Miller reach them? I think if he could reach them, he would put himself in the favoured spot to win the stage, because looking at the other 4 riders, Miller will be amongst the top boys there if it came down to the end in Montpellier. But just looking at a long empty road there as we see the chateaux all around here. We passed the Moulin d'Alphonse, the windmill. That's a Montauban Castle in the distance on the right. Now, there's the grimace of the Tour de France. It's in fire again. We'll be back.
How long is this gonna last? I'm ready to hit the Bud Light. I already took care of it.
Say, well, all right, now we are gathered here today to join in marriage, Bob and Julie. Bob, do you take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife? Do I hear and I do, I do, do I hear and I do?
I do.
Julie, do you take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband? Do I hear and I do, I do, do I hear and I do?
I do.
Going once, going twice, and now pronounce you husband and wife, you may kiss the bride.
And away we go. Refreshingly smooth Bud Light. Always worth it.
So what I owe you? 100, 100 and a quarter, 100 and a half, 1/7 divide 200, not 2 and a quarter.
That's cold.
People are smart, and when it comes to home loans, they don't like smoke and mirrors. Well, unless they're a magician or an illusionist, which is just a fancy word for magician. What they do like is getting what they're promised, like our Smart Rate. It's a 30-year fixed mortgage with a rate around 6 1/8%. To find out more, call us at 1-800-DITEC-1 and let us help you get the loan you need without being sawed in half. DITEC. People are smart.
Over the course of the tour, riders will burn 123,900 calories, the equivalent of 155 hours of cardio or 263 double cheeseburgers.
Look, honey, Rock Bottom's Backyard Barbecue, and they're tapping that beer you love, American Dream Ale. Hey, you're doing it again.
It's Rock Bottom's Backyard Barbecue, featuring American Dream Ale. Build your own ultimate backyard burger. The crisp, delicious Waldorf wedge. Our juicy 20-ounce T-bone, plus choose your favorite picnic side. Grilled food and chilled beers. Now that's a barbecue.
Bicycle Village, the ultimate bike shop. Bicycle Village has Colorado's largest selection of bikes, from tandems to trikes to top-end bikes. All the best brands and the largest selection. Over 1,000 bikes set up and ready to ride from the brands you want, like Trek, Specialized, Raleigh, Lightspeed, and more. Only Bicycle Village offers same-day bike service to get you back on your bike quicker. Plus lifetime tunes and an unbeatable performance guarantee on every bike we sell. And we always guarantee the lowest prices. Bicycle Village, the ultimate bike shop.
Co-ed matches, coaches on the court, super tiebreakers, and superstars from around the world. World Team Tennis on Versus. The new champ of Wimbledon, Venus Williams, leads the Freedoms to Wrangell Houston. Sunday at 11:30 on Versus.
Welcome back. This is Montpellier Abbey, and don't forget, stay up to date with all of the drama on cyclists' biggest event, which is the Tour de France. Head to versus.com for all of the live race updates, exclusive videos, expert analysis, and you can join your fellow enthusiasts in the fan zone for polls, podcasts, and more. It's all on Versus on Demand, versus.com. The Tour de France goes on here as we stay south here towards the Camargue. And 4 riders are beginning to establish a little bit of a lead here now. The last check we got, it's over 3 minutes. David Miller is locked in no man's land, but he is closing in. He was 40 seconds. He's now down to about 24 seconds. These are the leaders: Weckman, Fofanoff, Florencio, and Philippe Gilbert. Gilbert in the jersey on the right there with the white shorts. There's the gap, 3 minutes 25. This is very interesting, and Miller might get up. We're in the town of Arles now. And this is the scene of the last sprint of the day here, which is still about 5 kilometers away. This is one of the biggest conurbations in this area of France. Before we carry on a very flat road today to Montpellier. Well, the sprint there was on the right there, so in fact we are in the town. The computer not quite agreeing with the distance for the day. That's the first time this tour started. No sprint, not surprised. Florencio goes over from Weckman and nobody really interested in the sprint. Not surprisingly, they're for the green jersey and small-time bonuses, and they really don't matter to this breakaway. They want the stage win, of course. Here comes David Miller. Yes, he sits over an hour behind. He's not thinking of winning the Tour de France. He is thinking of reaching the leaders. He's wearing long sleeves on a day like this. He must be roasted, because Miller has developed this very strange allergy, which he's never had before, where the sun since the Alps has turned all his skin a puce colour, and no cream he's used has relieved him of the itching, which he says is driving him crazy. I'm not surprised. So there's the field, snuggling under what little shade we've got on this broiling day south here. Well, not really south, we're racing due west now, right across the bottom of France. So let's go down now to Craig Hummer. He's talking with George Hincapie at the start.
George, they call these transitional stages, but I think more importantly, you finally crested the hump over halfway through the Tour. How are you feeling up to this point?
I feel good. Yesterday was a relatively easy day. It was long and hot, but we stayed out of trouble, and we were able to sit on the wheels and recover. So I'm looking forward to the next couple days, and I'm feeling better.
Speaking of we, how is the team in particular doing looking forward?
The team is great. As you saw the other day on the Galibier, Alberto was probably the strongest guy out of all the favorites. So we're really excited about that, and hopefully he goes as good or better in the Pyrenees.
You mentioned Alberto. Talk a little bit about Levi's condition and where you see chances for him in the coming days.
Yeah, Levi's been doing great. He's just been following the favorites. So we got two really good cards to play with Alberto and Levi, and we're in a great position right now.
And what's your goal going to be throughout all of that?
I just hope I can win in one stage in the next week or so. Thanks.
George Hincapie, the champion of the USA. Two cards to play, Levi Leipheimer and Alberto Contador. They'll keep them as safe as they can and as fresh as they can today. They won't be playing those cards today. It's a chance for these boys, and Miller is on. As we speak, he's just latched on to the back of the group. There he is. Florencio Wegman Gilbert was the order, wasn't a sprint, and David Miller. Good effort that, Paul, to make the gap. He's only just caught the train before it left the station.
I think a clever effort as well, Phil, because he saw this move. He was reading the race. He was waiting. He'd seen the breakaways forming and being caught since the very first kilometre of this morning stage. When he saw that one go, he actually felt the mood in the main field switch off, and he's thought, this is the one for me. I'm going with it. And he had to ride across a gap of around about 38 seconds. It's taken him a few kilometres to do it, but now, once he's recovered a fraction, he's going to be the driving force in this move.
Well, what he's got to do now is get a few deep breaths and a little recovery time. The riders in the breakaway know he's made a big effort, so they won't ask him to work just yet. A couple of kilometres rest, and then he can start working with them. That's what happens. Look at this massive crowd here in Arles. This is a beautiful town, by the way, Arles, in the far south. The riders come through here still very much ahead of the fastest expected arrival time, but the crowd were ready. They're all on the roadside, the French flag flying there. As the riders now continue to pick their way through all, I will remind you about our Saab Watch and Win sweepstakes. So don't forget, fly to the finish, and you do this by logging on to versus.com/fly to the finish. Every day during the tour, it's a chance to win a Saab 9.3 Sports Combi. There's today's word, Marseille. And that was where we started from today. We're looking across here. I think we're looking across towards Nîmes here as we pass through Arles. All of these beautiful old Roman settlements of many years ago abound in this area of France. This is now the gateway to the Camargue area. And this is the French champion here. He fell earlier. A very similar crash to the one we saw in the Tour of California, you know, when George Hincapie collided with his teammate Tony Cruz, and George broke his wrist, and that put paid to his spring campaign. And this time, Christophe Moreau, I keep calling him Francis, but he's retired. Christophe Moreau collided with his teammate Simon Gerrans of Australia, and both have come off with a little bit of skin loss, but nothing more serious than that. So as we look out across the Roman cities here, down by the Camargue, as we go to a break this time, let me give you now our Subway Restaurants trivia question. Here come the questions. How many of the 21 team managers from the Tour de France teams rode the Tour as bike riders? Is it A1, B5, C10, or is it D15? And I'll give you the answer to our Tour trivia question when you come back.
People are always asking us why we insist on making the strongest frames in the industry. It's because on the roughest roads, you need the confidence that the Pro Tour's lightest frame is going to get you on the podium.
Prepare yourself. The 3 Series is here. With elegant styling and a powerful yet fuel-efficient inline 6-cylinder engine. Stop in and take a test drive today.
Who wants to be stranded with a flat tire? Changing tires out here could be dangerous, but with these tires, I don't need to worry. Well, I guess I'll be on my way.
Bridgestone. Run flat tires.
Bridgestone. Both Blockbuster Total Access and Netflix let you order movies online and receive and return them by mail. But Blockbuster also has stores, so you can get a new movie right away, just in case you don't want to wait. Get a free trial at your Blockbuster store or blockbuster.com.
189 of the world's greatest cyclists are coming to France for one reason.
He's still got fight in him.
To sprint.
He's taken no chances here.
Climb.
He blew the race apart.
Sweat.
Nice show of determination.
Bleed.
Oh my God!
Fight.
What a finish!
To be the one pure champion.
Where does he find the strength from?
The real drama continues. The Tour de France. Stage 12. Live tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. on Versus.
Not in the abdomen, Cameron.
Hi. This is Matthews. I'm Steve, your Progressive Claims rep. I inspected the damage on your car, and you're all set.
Oh, thanks so much for coming by. My insurance agent recommended Progressive because you do this kind of stuff for free. I have 4 boys, so the smallest errand is just...
No problem.
Yeah, okay, thanks so much. Bye.
With Progressive, saving hundreds is just the beginning. Contact a local independent agent to switch today.
Welcome back. Our answer to our Subway Restaurants Tour trivia question. How many of the 21 team managers for the Tour de France teams rode the Tour as riders? 1, 5, 10 or 15? You might be a little bit surprised to know it is 15. And in fact, if you take all the assistant managers, I think you can double that figure as well. But these are only the directors sportifs, the top men on the squad. And that happens with the Tour de France. Now, a lot of ex-Tour people are part of the Tour organization, as well as being part of the cycling teams. There's this beautiful Roman amphitheater here, which was built in 80 or 90 AD. And it was shortly built after the Colosseum in Rome. So it really is a magnificent example of Roman buildings in this region. As we pan around the red-topped houses here, as we're saying goodbye to all now through the Roman streets, the peloton, time to sit up and take a rest. They've been riding well. They're now inside 50 miles from the finish, and the gap has shot up. Miller just jumped on that train, and he's going to thank his lucky stars he caught it, because the gap now, Paul, nearly 6 minutes.
Well, it's certainly going up very quickly. I think teams like Gerolsteiner and Milram, Phil, if they're thinking about getting themselves a stage victory here this afternoon, in the next 20 or 25 kilometers need to think about organizing a chase, because as you said earlier, if that gap gets to the double figure mark of 10 minutes, then they probably won't see these guys again. And the teams of the sprinters all know that. But I think because of the severity of the start, they're all waiting to get themselves organized a little bit later on.
As the riders continue to cross the Rhone, coursing their way down towards the finish in Montpellier today, which is a bustling city and welcomes the race. 5:44 is a good gap. The peloton, they were really under pressure today. I thought really they'd gone completely crazy in that first hour. 51 kilometers. I think that's the most we've achieved since the Tour began. And then they finally slowed down, and Beckman saw his chance, accelerated away, and Miller saw it go, did it the hard way, reached them, and now got these 5 riders up front.
Well, the important thing was for David Miller, he actually read the mind of the main field. He could see that the majority of guys in the main field wanted to cut off. They were ready to have a breakaway succeed, and he knew that this was a big chance, and that's why he used his big engine to ride across that gap. There's a rider on the front here, Grisha Neiman, in the orange jersey of Team Rabobank. He's just setting a false tempo. They don't want that breakaway to go too far away. But now that they're starting to see the 6-minute figure creep up there, I think the teams of the sprinters will start to get just a fraction nervous.
Well, Neiman here, just keeping everything under control. The riders begin to enjoy it at the moment, I think. Believe it or not, in the original break of 20 this morning, Jens Voigt was at it again. He was up in that group, but this time when they got 1 minute and 20 seconds, the peloton refused to let them go. And many of the riders in the breakaway sensed this wasn't going to work because the race was chasing them too hard. 3 of them went on. Beauregard was one of them, Bernardi was another, and Sylvain Chavanel. The rest fell back to the field, but the field didn't stop there. They kept on going until they'd wiped everybody out.
Well, it doesn't look like anybody's prepared to come to the front now and do the pacemaking. You can see Team Astana there. Just briefly was Alexander Vinokourov, still very happy to ride at the front end of the main field. And still, for the first time, we've seen a lot of riders from Astana all over the front end of the bunch.
Well, there's a split on the field as they go through the next town after all. And always a little bit concerning, but when they're at this speed, it's not too much of a problem. But changing direction through the middle there is always a worry. Well, we've seen some great rides from the wildcard team this year, haven't we? Barlow World, Robbie Hunter narrowly missing out in a sprint at Joigny, and Solar getting that great win at Briançon. Well, we thought then it would be a good idea to find out a little bit more and how the team and Robbie Hunter is going. Frankie Andreo speaking now with Robbie.
Robert, your team has a fantastic stage win from a few days ago. You've been getting up there every day in the sprints. What are your plans for today?
Yeah, obviously it's hope it comes down to bunch sprint today, but it's not for sure. I think Quick-Step's already got 3 stage wins. They're pretty much happy, so it's going to be difficult. They put a couple guys in the front as well to bring it down to bunch sprint. Besides, Tom's already got a decent lead in the green jersey, so you know, I think they're not going to be too interested to bring it down to bunch kick. So it's going to be difficult, but hopefully it does come down to bunch kick that I can, you know, have a good day and get some points up there as well.
So your options today, will you look at all to try to get into the break, or do you just sit in and wait for that field sprint?
Well, I was actually looking to get in the break yesterday, and I was up there for the first 80 Ks, and when I went back to go and get some water because I thought it settled down, 10 guys right off the front. So yesterday was definitely an option. Today we have to wait and see how it goes in the beginning. If no one's keen to ride, then you know it is an option to try and get in the break. But then again, you know, I'm not that far off Zabel, so if I do get in the break, there's also I think it might just upset a few people. They might bring it back, so it's kind of a tricky situation.
They don't like the sprinters in the break or people who are close to the green jersey, do they?
No, not at all. So yeah, it's going to be a difficult situation, I think, for me to try and get in the break. And if I do, like I said, I think or either Tom or Zabel's team will probably bring it back, but you never know.
All right, good luck.
Cool, thanks.
Thanks, Robert.
Indeed, you never know. Robbie Hunter, 30 years of age now. He comes from Johannesburg, and I know he's got a big following in South Africa because he's the only South African rider in the Tour. He's had 6 wins this year, 2 since he joined his new team, Barlow World. He is the man guiding that team into the Tour de France. I think it was his presence in the team that the Tour gave the wild card to Barlow World, and they have really reaped reward with Mauricio Sola winning that wonderful stage in Briançon. So they've well equipped themselves. We'll take another break. The 5 boys are still gaining on the field.
See something cool? Motel6.com is the easiest place to book a great room online. See, when you start in the right spot, everything else just kind of falls into place. We'll leave the light on for you.
New Q Horsepower is here, and no leading synthetic oil delivers more power than Q Horsepower. Unleash all your horses.
When you take it off, you're gonna like what you see.
Scotch Blue Painter's Tapes.
Yeah, when you take it off, you're gonna like what you see.
Goes on easy, comes off clean, leaving professional paint lines.
Looking good, you got to agree.
Scotch Blue Painter's Tapes for delicate or multi-surfaces.
Go on, take it off.
They're crossing the country, searching for the next mixed martial arts badass. All new episodes of the original series, Tap Out, Wednesdays beginning August 1st on Versus.
While other kids were playing games, Jenny was building sandcastles. No one thought she'd ever live in one, except for Jenny. Go inside the world's most extreme homes. All new series, Mondays at 9 on HGTV.
Looking for your next home? Why drive yourself crazy? Visit homes in the newest communities across Colorado without ever leaving your sofa. Just press 888 on your Comcast digital remote. Then go to Real Estate on Searchlight 888.
They provide $4.95 to help cover the cost of shipping.
They let you try it free? It must be good.
You know, I've been taking Focus Factor since we introduced it over 2.5 years ago, and I wouldn't work a day without it.
To get your free Focus Factor, call 1-800-832-2604. 1-800-832-2604.
189 of the world's greatest cyclists are coming to France for one reason.
He's still got fight in him.
To sprint, climb, sweat, bleed, fight to be the one pure champion. The real drama continues. The Tour de France. Stage 12. Live tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. on Versus.
Yes, we see the yellow jersey there of Rasmussen. These are the men who challenge him, and they're not very far behind him with the Pyrenees and the time trials to come. Alejandro Valverde is second, Cadel Evans fourth, Sastre is seventh. All the men we've talked about for 3 weeks. Andreas Kloden eighth. Levi Leipheimer always said he will attack in the Pyrenees. He's looking for 3 minutes and 53 seconds, sits in ninth. I can never say it's safe to say, but Alexander Vinokurov, the big odds-on favourite, seems to have slipped away from contention. 8 minutes behind the leader and some 6 minutes behind his main rivals. That might be too much for him to bridge. And by the way, one of these injured knees apparently is turning septic, and the doctors are very worried about it. So it has been a rough old tour for poor old Alexander Vinokurov. These are the men making the story today. 5 of them, Miller catching them just before they got clear of the field by 7 minutes and 11 seconds. We think they need at least 10 minutes to have a chance of running down to the finish. They've got 73 kilometres or so still to ride. They're working well together. There's no prizes in front of them except the finish. There's no obstacles in front of them either. This is a very flat road now through the Camargue, which is where we are. Off the left shoulder of the rider here, you'll see this beautiful saltwater sort of salt marsh, which is home to thousands of flamingos at this time of the year. I don't know if our cameras will find them. And also the wild horses of the Camargue. So the riders itself sitting up here, blocking the road in absolutely no hurry whatsoever to pull that breakaway. They'll get 10 minutes, I think. Don't forget, though, tomorrow we race into the Tarn and its beautiful gorges. It's a tough day. It's not an easy day from Montpellier to Castres. And we'll be with you as usual at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. There's a second category climb tomorrow, which is going to hurt the legs of the riders after a couple of days of flat riding. Don't miss it. 8 a.m. tomorrow, our regular time here on Versus. Live coverage of the Tour de France. We're edging closer to the Pyrenees with a little taster tomorrow in the Tarn. This is Dmitry Fofanov, another Kazakhstan rider who's got himself a place on the top team. and he is on the Bouygues Telecom team. This is the champion of Germany, Fabian Weckmann, at 27 years of age. 2 wins this year. He won the Grand Prix Buchholz as well as the National Road Race title just before the Tour started. Philippe Gilbert here on the front now. These boys are working extremely well together just at the moment. Gilbert, Fofanoff, Florencio, Gilbert. And now it looks as though somebody's sent the message out. Now perhaps you can explain this one, Paul, but Astana have taken up the chase.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I noticed a little while ago the flags were straight across this road, and it's an ideal way to create a big surprise. Everybody has been riding nice and comfortably in the main field. We haven't had anything like this before. These riders now, instead of waiting for the big mountain stages, have decided to take advantage of a crosswind. Now, there'll be a lot of panic in the main field, Phil, because of this. And Alexander Vinokourov is right up at the front end of the peloton. We started off this tour talking about Alexander Vinokourov's studying of the racing manual. Well, again, he's actually not bothered at all about where we are in the race. He's not bothered at all about the stage that we're going through this afternoon. He's seen an opportunity and he's trying to react to it.
Well, this might be a little bit of a show of strength as well, because it's not a tactic we'd have thought, and I can't really see the point of it, to be all honest here. But he's put his team on the front and he's making them work, and this may end the breakaway. And while we're watching this chase, we're just hearing of the abandon of Igor Anton, which is the first rider to go in the Euskaltel-Euskadi team. So we've lost 2 riders from 2 different teams today. Bit surprised about that, Paul, because when he won a stage of the Tour of Romandy and then went on to finish second in quite a big race over in Spain. I thought he would have come here with some great form, and he's never shown.
Well, you might question why this has happened, and this is why it's happened. Because we're in the Camargue, it's completely flat. There's a massive big crosswind. I'm absolutely certain that what they did, Team Astana, was meandered themselves up to the front. They will have made sure that Andreas Kloden was near the front end of the main field, and then they put the hammer down because they think they can split the field in these conditions, because it's not always in the mountains that the race is dangerous. The wind can also be a serious factor. Panic on board, but look at the organization of Team CSC. Very quick to figure this out. Now you've got an idea why they put the hammer down like this. Big Jens Voigt there is looking after Carlos Sastre, who is not a great rider at riding in the wind. And the reason they've done this is to force this split at the back of the main field and hopefully catch out 1 or 2 of the riders in the top 10.
Well, if they're caught at the back, we're going to see a terrific race here. This is like racing in Holland now, where the wind rips across the dikes, and only the strong men can hold the front line here, because they'll be pushing on at 48, 50 kilometers an hour. The wind will tear through the middle. They call them bordures, or the echelons will form now as the strong men drive and the weak ones struggle. And look at the drive now. I think this is a terrific piece of riding by Astana.
Well, Team Astana, we saw them before the start of the tour. They were in great form. We knew the whole team had form. Yes, they were a little bit beheaded by the double accident, first of all to Andreas Kloden, followed up by the accident to Alexander Vinokourov. But they have now decided, Phil, that they want to race, and this is a very good place to race. And look at the damage they're doing. You asked me what their tactics were here this afternoon. That is the tactic. Split this race up, no prisoners.
Well, this is what Bernardino said they should have done in the north of France on the road to Compiègne when they didn't. Now they're getting the best of the wind and they're trying to tear this race apart. Just look at the damage being done now in the crosswinds of the Camargue here. Even Johan van Sommeren's been caught at the wrong end of the split. If you were not paying attention today, the wind has tore into this peloton, all because of the strong riding of Vinokourov's Astana team.
Well, a few riders getting caught out. Vladimir Gusev there has gone back. I did see Alberto Contador at the front of the race with George Hincapie, but he was almost begging George Hincapie to ride in the wind and protect him. He's a young rider, Alberto Contador. We've seen him ride superbly in the mountains, but he's not yet, I don't think, Phil, learned the technique of riding in the crosswinds that we're experiencing here.
Well, what happened there was they brought that breakaway back by almost a minute with that reaction. But I've got a feeling they've turned the power off again.
Well, I'm not sure they have, because in some of the back groups they've already got rid of the sprinters, Thor Hushovd and Eric Zabel missing out. I'm a bit surprised about Eric Zabel, because he is a very clever, canny rider. Nobody, though, I think expected this. They were quite happy to have a nice, easy ride, but it's going to have a serious effect on the overall advantage of the 5 leaders.
Well, let's have a look now. Our camera, you can see the fact there's no cars behind the pack here. There are now riders behind the field. They'll be left in no man's land. The commissaires, the race referees, will let no cars into the gap and protect them from the wind, because this isn't the fault of a flat tire or a fall. This is a lack of energy, so they won't help them back to this pack as the pack continues to be driven on here at the front.
Well, Discovery Channel at the front here, you have to actually ride in an echelon like this to make sure you don't get popped out of the back, because riding at the front in a situation like this allows you to get a little bit of shelter from the wind. The most dangerous place to ride in a group like this is at the back, because you can get sliced out and immediately get popped out of the back. There you can see George Hincapie, red, white and blue, protecting Alberto Contador. It's very difficult, and unless you've ever done this, it's very difficult to understand how difficult it is to ride once you get the wind in your face. That's why we've got this diagonal line, and it's a very important part and technique of professional bike racing.
Just take a look at the face of these guys now. This is 100% effort here now to cause damage at the back. We had to change of direction there. We made a right-hand turn. It means now the field is taking the wind on the left shoulder. There is the injured Moreau this morning. If he's in any way in pain, he's going to be in big pain now, because this tour suddenly turned a bit ugly in the last few minutes as the riders thought it would be a routine finish, a break and bunch going down to Montpellier. The gaps are forming. When you see gaps form like this now, riders chasing holes in the peloton, they are in huge difficulty here. This has caught a lot of riders unexpected.
Well, this is seriously what is known as putting the hammer down, and one man who's getting caught out because of that. You wonder why they went hard. Well, they went hard to get rid of men. They're getting rid here of the man who is French national champion, 6th in the overall classification, Christophe Moreau. He was riding at the back end of the main field, having his wounds treated there, and that is a bad sign for him. He's asked his teammates to go across the road to start a second echelon, but it's always very difficult for the second echelon to actually rejoin the front end of the race.
Well, Moreau should not have been where he was, of course. He was not expecting this. Patrice Algon, the most aggressive rider of yesterday, is trapped there back in. And that's why the race referees have got the gaps open. And behind that group of Moreau, there is another big group of riders as well. There's Moreau swung out to the left to have a good look at who is in this group, because he wants these guys to drag him back in before the train just goes and leaves him behind.
Well, I know, Phil, a little bit earlier on I had said something about this being a nice day for the overall contenders to sit in the main field and conserve a fraction of energy. Well, yes, none of the main contenders wanted a day like this, but Alexander Vinokourov said, forget about that, you lot. I'm going to take advantage of this and see if I can create my own little bit of hurt, and he's certainly done that.
Well, I'm just looking at the group there, Paul. They've cut off 2 top Rabobank riders as well with Moreau here. We've got Peter Weening, and we've also got Michael Bogart, and that's taking 2 very strong helpers away from the yellow jersey of Rasmussen. So perhaps the team is in a spot of bother, because look at that, 52 is Bogart. There's no organisation here. It is a desperation situation. The wind is turning into them. They're doing a turn, then they're so exhausted. There's no organisation. They're throwing everything at the race just to try and claw the way back.
Well, in fact, a rider from AG2R has been dropped back there by the team management. You can see now 4 riders from AG2R are trying to get themselves organised to pace Christophe Moreau back into the main field. And the man who was very attentive there in the yellow jersey, Michael Rasmussen, the man of the mountains, is riding very comfortably as a man on the flat.
And Chris Horner just off to the left of our picture too. He's also looking after Cadell Evans. Big Tom Bonan's here in the green jersey. He'll love this. He'll be in his apple cart doing this one. This is his style of Belgian racing. And you see that the yellow jersey has got some orange jersey around him. They're his teammates, but they're all riding very closely together now. Alberto Contador is over there, and the split. Moreau should never have been caught out here.
Well, he was asleep. He was sitting in the back end of the group, probably only sitting in about 50th place. Then all of a sudden, I did mention that those riders from Team Astana were bunching up to the front. They looked for an opportunity, and once they saw that wind howling across from the left-hand side, they said, come on, we've got the power within our team to do something pretty nasty here, and that's what they do. I love racing like this. This is a real grippy kind of racing. Guys at the back are taking all kinds of risks, Phil, to get themselves in the shadow of the wind, and that's what they're going to do for the next few kilometres.
Big George Hincapie's happy, moving up on the right here. Just look at that now. Hincapie looking at the yellow jersey, but he wasn't really. He was looking at the location of Contador in the white jersey, his teammate, making sure this split is getting wide. The elastic is stretching, and it could well snap here because they were desperate moments. These riders sent all the team back, but now he's only got 2 teammates with him, and Morrow is having to work himself. This is a very serious situation here for Morrow. We haven't forgot about the 5 leaders either, but they won't know what is going on behind. Well done, Kazakhstan and Astana. They're still in the Tour de France. We'll take a break.
Special Agent, when can you get back on the road?
Hey, I'll show you. When Esurance policyholders get their cars repaired at one of Esurance's certified body shops, they can monitor repairs online 24/7. I'll be back on the road in no time.
Visit esurance.com today.
Visa PayWave. Now there are more places and more ways to pay. Faster.
Life takes people are smart. And when it comes to home loans, they don't want smoke and mirrors. They want a smart rate. Like our 30-year fixed mortgage around 6 1/8%. Call 1-800-DITEC-1 now to get a loan without being sawed in half. DITEC. People are smart.
MMA can be extremely artful, it can be scientific, it can be a chess match, or it can be a brutal, quick knockout that nobody ever expected it.
Hopefully, Connie, you're still up for it. Baby, I'm coming. I'm coming after that bell.
When I passed the finish line, I saw his blood coming out.
Yellow jersey has gone down.
I got really scared, so I just lay down on the ground, lift my arm up. That was a scary moment.
Welcome back. Well, this is a transitional stage and supposed to be routine. It is no longer that now because the Astana team have stepped on the gas on the front and they've caught one man not paying attention. Christophe Moreau is now in a back group and it doesn't look as though he's going to cross the gap to the leaders. I think really the elastic has snapped and the man who sits in 6th overall today isn't going to be there tonight. Well, the serious situation, Morrow's only hope is now the peloton slows down, but they will know he's struggling behind now. They will know exactly what's going on, and until they've prized this gap open to a couple of minutes, I can't see him slowing down.
Well, I think they'll take advantage of this. We've had a massively fast race since the start, 47 kilometers an hour average at this point, but it is going to pick up, I think, Phil. The first 2 hours of the race were 49.5 kilometers an hour, but because of the wind direction, Team Astana saw an opportunity to pull themselves back into this race, and I'm looking here at a lot of riders from Rabobank who've actually missed out on that move.
Well, yes, they caught Michael Bogart back here. They should be up there looking after Rasmussen. They caught Peter Weening back here as well. He's the man with the slowest heartbeat in the race. I bet he's beating a bit higher than most now. And here come the white and blue of Astana. Well, I take my hats off to them. They've been carrying the limping Vinokurov. Somebody passed the order to say we attack today when the wind comes off the Camargue, and this will only favour as well their other man, Claude. And look at Sergei Ivanov here, former champion of Russia, and he is moving.
This is very similar to the tactics that was adopted in the 1970s and 80s by a team from Holland called the Rally Team, and they would love a situation like this because they knew that they could hurt the climbers. I think what we're seeing here is Team Astana trying to pull themselves back into a position here where they are looking still at a podium position when they come down to Paris. They will completely, I think, Phil, give everything here to this race to try and make sure now that Christophe Moreau does not come back into it. Here he is, he's condemned to the second group on the road, and he won't have any allies in this group. The only men who will really help him are his teammates, and he's only got 3.
And they haven't got the legs. They even sent one back out the group to try and hand it up to him, but he hasn't got it. He's now going to get a little bit demoralized now as he looks up the road. He's got Alessandro Cortinovis here also from Italy in this group. There is Patrice Algon with the red number. He was in the breakaway yesterday. They're all back here. Peter Weening, and there Michael Bogart.
And also David Arroyo, one of the riders from Case d'Epargne. He was 19th at the start of the day. He's having a hard time on the flatlands. He's not too worried, really, because his team has got two favorites for the win in it, in the shape of Alejandro Valverde and, of course, still last year's runner-up, Oscar Pereiro. But here, this group now will be having to do something very special. They will probably have a chance if the main peloton actually comes back up to them, Phil, and there are a few riders from AG2R in that group. But for the moment, they're losing huge chunks of time.
And mentally they'll be beaten too, because that horrible long empty road with just spectators on it, that's what the problem is now. We've also got one of the sprinters back here too, Robert Foster from Gerolstein, as was caught out. And just look at this now as Astana throw all at Sergei Ivanov on the right, George Hincapie in the centre. George loves this sort of race. This is a free-for-all. Hincapie's right up there now. There's a lot of riders willing to help now because they've realised what they've done. Gerolstein have some men here. The face of Jaroslav Popovic, Contador's coming to the front, Levi Leipheimer. All of a sudden Discovery Channel have woken up.
Well, they were attentive because they were at the front end of the main field. They'll do everything they can. I don't think tactically it's a nice move for Team Discovery to take advantage of this, but what they will do is make sure they look after Levi Leipheimer and they'll look after Alberto Contador, because these flat stages are very dangerous for the climbers. The climbers don't have that much power, the kind of power that you need to use a massive gear and push the race along at speeds at 50 kilometers an hour.
Well, as we look here at the back of the group, all of France is going to be feeling very sad today, because their big hope, I think, now could be losing his Tour de France here. And he was still being talked about, especially by the French, of course, as a likely winner of the Tour de France. There's Michael Bogart, must have been wondering what on earth he is doing back here. Arroyo, he was the rider that went off the mountain, remember, on the descent of the Cormet de Roseland, which caused the abandon of Michael Rogers. And we've lost two riders today, Calzati and Anton. These boys now are desperate to get their team captain back up, but they're making no improvement whatsoever.
Well, there are three riders in here with Christophe Moreau, Jose Luis Arrieta, Cyril Dessel, and the other rider in there as well was trying to move up to the front end was Stéphane Goubert. He's a very experienced rider. I'm surprised that Christophe Moreau got caught out in a move like this.
Well, there's over a minute now between the peloton at Maillot Jaune and the peloton of the French national champion. 59.4 kilometers to go. Well, while we look here at the peloton, which is flying through the Languedoc vineyards here, let me remind you again of our Saab Watch and Win sweepstakes. You play with us by going to versus.com/fly to the finish. We do the competition every day. A chance to win a Saab 9.3 Sport Combi and a Cervelo bike. There's the magic word you'll need today, Marseille. And not Moreau, because that's not magic anymore. He's now sitting in a group over a minute behind. Sergei Ivanov, who is the strong man of this team, normally guiding Vinokurov through the mountains until he can't do it anymore. He's now got his head down, and with the rest of the team, they're having a little private team time trial here. Discovery Channel have woken up to this because they're putting the men right up behind. We've got Popovic, we've got Levi Leipheimer, George Hincapie, Contador, all right up there. I've also seen Gusev, the white jersey of Contour, talking to the Maillot Jaune. I wonder what he's saying now, because this race is wide open. This Tour de France on a routine day. One word is going great. We'll be back.
Saab was founded by 16 aircraft engineers. Their spirit lives on in the turbocharged 2007 Saab 9.3 Sport Combi. With all the storage space you need, an estimated 30 miles per gallon, and a starting price under $29,000, you're closer to owning a jet than you think. Saab, born from jets. Log on to versus.com/fly to the finish for your chance to win a 2007 Saab 9.3 Sport Combi and a new Cervelo bike.
Sono Paolo Bettini, sono campione del mondo e campione olimpico. Chiedo il massimo dalla mia bicicletta. Voglio che sia ripida, leggera, bella e precisa, ma più di tutto che sia veloce. Questa è la mia bicicletta. I am Specialized.
At Ruby Tuesday, great meals are a matter of course.
First course, picked fresh. Second course, grilled to perfection. Third course, sweet moments with friends. Starting at $9.99. Petite sirloin, chicken fresco, Ruby Tuesday.
Introducing Accelerate with protein. Proven to increase endurance up to 29% over your old sports drink. So while others fade, you can stay strong. Don't fade. Accelerate.
Hey.
New truck, huh? Yeah, it's a Toyota Tacoma. And guess what? I got 3.9% financing.
Nice.
Of course, I'm also saving money on gas. Between that and the deal, I'm spending a lot less than I thought. In fact, I finally have enough extra money to get the dog fixed. Because that's just freaking the other dogs out.
Toyota, a smart way to keep moving forward.
Bicycle Village, the ultimate bike shop. Bicycle Village has Colorado's largest selection of bikes, from tandems to trikes to top-end bikes. All the best brands and the largest selection. Over 1,000 bikes set up and ready to ride from the brands you want, like Trek, Specialized, Raleigh, Lightspeed, and more. Only Bicycle Village offers same-day bike service to get you back on your bike quicker. Plus lifetime tunes and an unbeatable performance guarantee on every bike we sell. And we always guarantee the lowest prices. Bicycle Village, the ultimate bike shop.
That sky blue on the front, the Astana team getting their own back on the peloton of the Tour de France today. Let me remind you too, there are plenty of good stages to watch, and the next one for Bicycle Magazine's Tour de France stages you can't miss. Stage 13, Saturday, the individual time trial in this year's Tour, the very first one, as this Saturday, July 21st on Versus. And Bicycle Magazine has been cycling to life with the bike. And there are the riders from Astana. And the Case de Palm boys have cottoned on pretty quick too. They put Vinokurov back up behind them. The hard work, they've looked over. Everybody suddenly realized what was going on. The strong teams have immediately got to the front of this peloton in huge numbers. So Case de Palm is there, so too is Team Discovery Channel. Well, just looking down at the field here, just look at this now. There's been a call-off here by Vinokurov after they've got over a minute on the group. Now it's up to the others.
Well, it's up to everybody else, and I'm wondering, I saw Alexander Vinokurov drop to the back end of that group. He was looking through the group. Now, the one man I was looking at from the helicopter shot all of the time was to see the presence of Andreas Kloden, and obviously it's very difficult in a situation like this. The race is very complicated. It's hard to get the cameras in there and see exactly what's going on. But I didn't see Andreas Kloden, and I wonder if that may be the reason that Alexander Vinokurov cut it down.
He is here, but I think now he's got the split. He says, we've done our bit, and it's time now for the others to start. And because he saw the team's mass. CSC, Case de Palm have come up with a lot of men. Discovery have come up with a lot of men, but they weren't helping Astana do the work. So I think he's called off his team and said, let the others do it now. They've put Moreau on the defensive. If they don't push home the advantage, then Moreau will get back. It's as simple as that. But right now he's really struggling in this group, and the gap is at 2:23 to the leaders as well. They were 7 minutes ahead when Vinokurov started this move.
Well, that was a massive slicing of their advantage, but it's certainly shown the mistake that's been made today by the French national champion, Christophe Moreau. You have to be attentive every kilometre of the way in a race like this. You have to make sure that you're there all the time. Elminger Gubert is up there with this man, Christophe Moreau. But today, I think he will take a serious pummeling of his morale after that move.
1 minute 20, they're now saying, is the gap between the yellow jersey and the group of Christophe Moreau, as the riders now go through the vineyards of the Languedoc here, and very, very quickly. This race is going to come home today way ahead of schedule, but I can tell you the finish line is all ready for them. And it'll be a lovely sprint finish into Montpellier as well. It's going to be a tough one, though, because we really have split off the riders. These are the leaders now. Fabian Weckmann is the rider in the champion of Germany's jersey as they continue here. The other riders, by the way, in case you've forgotten the names, because we haven't seen too much of them, is Fofanov, Florencio, Gilbert and David Miller, who came across to this group on his own and will not yet be aware, I don't think, of how the chase is going on behind. 2:24 for the peloton, so they are closing in now. They're not really chasing the leaders, they're trying to get rid of Moreau, but they might catch the leaders as a consequence. And the Quick Step still willing to whir. They put one rider up here in the escape. Case de Palm have got 3 riders. and Gerolsteiner are also moving up now. Meanwhile, life at the back must be very painful. Peter Wiening sitting here at the back of the group. Robert Foster there, the sprinter in the light blue. Michael Bogart is there. Patrice Olgon is there. Stefan Auger is the rider in red. All not helping at all. The chase back by Moreau. We'll take a break.
The 2007 Tour de France on Versus is brought to you by Cervelo. Enjoy engineering. Ride a Cervelo.
Hi, my name is Femi Cancellara, and I told you a little bit something about the R3 bike. I was so happy to have it last year on the race, and it was the first time I had a bike like this. A lot of people, they say it's the best frame in the world. And
This painting season, you've got a lot of stuff to paint, but not a lot of time. The Wagner Power Painter with innovative lock-and-go cartridges lets you go from staining to painting in a snap. Wagner, paint fast, paint smart.
If kids love to eat healthy, you wouldn't need the nutrients in Florida orange juice. One 8-ounce glass counts as almost 25% of your fruit and vegetable servings. Florida orange juice. Healthy, pure and simple.
We know what men like. Mitchum Smart Solid. Powerful protection, unbeatable against white residue. Wow, let's see that again. For powerful all-day protection that doesn't come off on your shirt, be a smart Mitchum man.
This summer, Versus is bringing the stars, the stripes, the painkillers. It's gonna be a red, white, black, and blue summer.
It's just something that you're either willing to accept or you're not.
The toughest athletes are gonna dish it out and take it on the chin. The competition is on, and the cost of victory is paid. The Versus red, white, black, and blue summer. The suffering continues.
Pain's a good thing sometimes.
All summer long.
We just got a new car. Good time to look at new car insurance, and we went with Progressive, saving like $400 a year. But what really impressed me was they actually gave me the rates the other big companies. Was not expecting that. I mean, that kind of honesty's. Oh, did you have anything to do with this?
No.
Right.
Get our rates plus competitors at Progressive.com. Honest. Progressive. Saving hundreds is just the beginning.
You're no rich prince.
Sorry. Rich Prince rewards begin at 2 kisses. To qualify, eligible. Additionally, the magic spell reserves the right to lock out the primary kiss giver from any and all. Kisses expire 6 seconds from date of pucker. All kisses are non-transferable.
Is this how your cash rewards card treats you? Introducing No Hassle Cash Rewards. Earn cash on every purchase everywhere, plus a 25% annual bonus.
Yeah, okay. But you're just 1 kiss away. What's in your wallet?
What's turning out to be a big day of action on today's stage of the Tour de France. The crosswinds have caused the split in the peloton. All of the trouble being caused by Alexander Vinokurov's Astana team. Up with the leaders here for the moment, 5 of them. When all the action started behind, they had 7 minutes. Now it's down to just 2 minutes for these 5 leading riders. And they're trying to keep out of the fireworks which is going on behind, because Christophe Moreau is in all sorts of trouble here, as the groups are spread over 2 minutes to the main peloton. And then we've got a 3-minute 28-second gap, so they're about 1 minute and 26 now behind the main peloton. It doesn't all well for Christophe Moreau. So yesterday, of course, we had a tremendous day of racing where finally a breakaway did decide the day, and the French did get the stage win. Let's have a look now at our Saab afterburner report. Well, there they are. It was a 5-man sprint. In the end, they got away over the little hills running into town from the original bigger breakaway. And then going through on the left of our picture here, Cedric Vasseur, 10 years on from when he won his last stage in the Tour de France. And this will be the end of his career this year. So he's got 2 wins to his name in the Tour de France. Big result for Cedric Vasseur. His father also won a stage of the Tour de France, in the 60s. That's our Saab afterburner report for you. A bit more for you on Basset. He's 36 now. That's why he feels his days are over as a bike rider. Turned pro back in 1994, so he's had a tremendously good career. 2 stage wins in the Tour de France, and when he got his first stage win, he held the race lead for a day. There's the peloton as they now continue to rethink the situation. This is the sorry sight at the back, and they're running about 1 minute and 20 seconds away, as the riders are 5 of them, and the leader of them is Christophe Moreau, who is trying desperately now to drag his teammates back into the action here. He is hoping and praying that the team will the race will just slow down on the horizon. 1 minute 50 to the peloton, but they're chasing the 5 leaders, and we're looking at a gap. I'm just checking here, 1 minute 50. They're almost 2 minutes away here now. They're losing ground rapidly, and I think Moreau, sooner or later, is going to say it's all over for me in this Tour de France. That gap is going to open just that little bit too wide. There's the details of that chase group with Moreau. Some big names being called out here, including Elmiger, winner of the Tour Down Under in Australia, Robert Foster, Ogier, and De La Fuente, third in the King of the Mountains last year, also back there.
Well, looking at the front end for this race, Phil, it's going to be a very big battle for Christophe Moreau here. He's looking now at losing himself, I would say, around about 1.5 minutes, and if he hasn't got the reinforcements to come up from the rear, he could lose himself 2 or 3 minutes before the end of the day.
Look at those empty roads catching the wind today. This is a great course because the wind's blowing up from the Mediterranean right across the riders. We are racing almost due west today across the echelon picture. From 1 o'clock from the right-hand side into the peloton. Well, Moreau must be feeling very, very despondent. He's got to keep on trying, but his heart won't be in it now, Paul.
Well, this is a group as well trying to get themselves back into contention. This is Thomas Voeckler's group, and he too, I think, has missed out here this afternoon. There's a lot of orange jerseys as well, Phil, from Euskaltel-Euskadi. This is the amazing thing about the Tour de France. You always have to be very much aware of a day like this when you think nothing's going to happen, and bang, somebody else decides the tactics on the day. And today, the people who made the serious tactics were Team Astana. They only caught out Christophe Moreau, but it could have been a completely different situation.
Yeah, Christophe Moreau, as far as the overall is concerned, they've caught out a few good sprinters, which is why Tom Bonen is very interested in holding this race clear at the moment, as indeed is Robbie Hunter, who's riding so well. 1:35, that's for the first peloton chasing the leading 5 riders here, but there are 3 pelotons on the road now. Heavy days for the race referees who try to keep a fair race in progress. There's the man who could lose 6th place in the Tour de France overall today, Moreau of France.
Is the IRS keeping you up at night? Are you afraid of losing everything? Don't let the IRS control your life.
Hello, I'm John Harris, president of J.K. Harris & Company. The IRS can attach your wages, your pension, your savings, even your Social Security checks. If penalties and interest have made your IRS problem go from bad to worse, call us now.
Call the IRS experts at J.K. Harris now for your free confidential tax settlement analysis.
Call 800-875-8195.
Welcome to a game where love means nothing and innovation is everything. Co-ed matches, coaches on the court, super tiebreakers, and superstars from around the world. World Team Tennis on Versus. The new champ of Wimbledon, Venus Williams, leads the Freedoms to Wrangell Houston. Sunday at 11:30 on Versus.
Got a tough job, like building the all-new Longmont Toyota out here, you need a tough truck. The 2007 Toyota Tundra does its job, so these guys can do theirs. That's right, Longmont Toyota has outgrown its current location and is building this all-new facility for you, based on your needs. At Longmont Toyota, you've always come to rely on personal relationships, great value, and incredible selection. And that will never change, even when our address does.
Toyota, a smart way to keep moving forward.
Welcome back. There's no change yet. There's 4 groups on the road, including the breakaway now, all trying to get back, and nobody making that much progress right now as we charge through the rather stark outcrops of the Camargue. Now, over the years, there have been some great innovations in the world of road cycling, and so we're going to take the top 5 now, thanks to our HP Top 5 Road Technology Innovations. We'll start with number 5. Boy, how this sport has improved over the years. So this is number 5, the race radio, and this is Jean Lalonde, once the manager of the Phonak team, as they now fit the riders up with his little mobile radios. That was 5. Number 4 comes along. Well, the old rat trap pedals have gone now to these beautiful pedals, one-sided for ski binding, but locks the feet in position. On to number 3, of course, it's the following car. That's the engine room for the Tour de France to keep you on the road, the mechanics leaning out, adjustments on the run and telling the riders exactly what's going on. On to number 2, and the old gear levers of Campagnolo on the downtube have gone now because they're integrated with the brakes. Push them sideways to change the gears, grab them to put the brakes on. And the top one, of course, it's the Durelia gear. From the fixed wheels to the cantilever action to the models that we have now with the riders, a cluster of 10 sprockets at the back. That's our HP top 5 improvements in cycling technology. So this is life at the front, a little bit calmer than life in the middle right now. These are the leaders, but look, the peloton charging up is now only 1 minute and 3 seconds behind. They had 7 minutes not so long ago. Amazing. Well, David Miller thought he made the right move by streaking across to catch these 4, Paul, but now they're 63 seconds, 62 seconds in front. They're going to be wiped out by this charging peloton.
Well, theoretically, David Miller made a very clever move today. He saw the breakaway going clear, but he didn't read the Astana team book of tactics, and that was race on every day and look for every opportunity. Even if you've got 2 wounded leaders, don't ever give up, and that's why we've just seen the tables completely and utterly turning.
Down to 55 seconds now, so Miller will have been told, as will be the rest of the riders here. They know that they're being closed in. I think they'll sit up. The last drinks out to the leaders. Fofanov gets a drink. He's a Kazakhstan rider who's on the wrong team right now. He should have been on Astana because these boys are about to get caught.
Well, rumour in the press is they're very keen to look at Fofanov for next year, and it may well be that he'll swap that jersey green and white of Crédit Agricole for the turquoise of Team Astana. And the way they rode here this afternoon, I reckon that's a team to look for the future. They've actually announced that they are not coming into the sport just for a flurry of interest with Alexander Vinokourov. They want to be around in this sport for more than 10 years.
Well, that's good news for the sport, certainly. Well, we saw back all the team cars have been allowed up behind the main peloton. That doesn't all well for the rest of the chasing groups because that means they've opened up quite a big gap now. This peloton is trying desperately to reform here. They're going to pick up that breakaway of 5. As we go back to a rather sad-looking Moreau here, he's 3rd, 4th rider behind his teammates. They don't know what's hit them here. This group has got very, very much bigger now. The big peloton is hooked up, but this isn't the peloton.
Well, the only thing that can really help here Christophe Moreau is the fact that he's got 2 or 3 teammates in that back field. But I don't think, Phil, the fact that they've been riding like this for a while, I don't think they actually have the firepower to pull him back into this race this afternoon.
I agree. These are the wild horses of the Camargue, but the actual wild horses are out on the road right now. Just looking down at the empty road here, the long empty gap. The breakaway about to get wiped out of the 5 escapers today as the peloton is coming big time. We'll take a break.
The Cervelo SL-CSL is a pure descending machine. Learn more and enter to win this Cervelo Dream Bike at competitivecyclist.com.
Take me out to Esurance. Take me to Savings Online. Auto insurance that's hassle-free. When you buy it instantly, let me quote. Buy it at Esurance. If you don't save, it's a shame. For it's $100, $200, $300 you could save with the Esurance name.
Save time and money on your auto insurance at Esurance.
People are smart. They know some things go together, like our real life plan. It's a low 6 1/8% fixed rate mortgage, a home equity loan, plus a credit card that helps pay down your loan. To learn more, call 1-800-DITEC-1. DITEC. People are smart.
It was known as the Tour of Chaos. This year, who'll get it back on track? Alexander Vinokourov, the most dangerous, determined, aggressive, and holding a grudge. Alejandro Valverde has all the tools to win it, if he can finish. Dennis Menchoff, a good rider needs a great team, and he's got one of the best. Levi Leipheimer, new style, new team, and visions of a night straight American victory. The real drama continues. The Tour de France, Stage 12, live tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. on Versus.
Saab was founded by 16 aircraft engineers. Their spirit lives on in the turbocharged 2007 Saab 9.3 Sport Combi. With all the storage space you need, an estimated 30 miles per gallon, and a starting price under $29,000, you're closer to owning a jet than you think. Saab, born from jets. Log on to Versus.com/fly to the finish for your chance to win a 2007 Saab 9.3 Sport Combi and a new Cervelo bike.
With 18 unique Star motorcycles, there's no limit to how far you can go. We build it. You make it your own. Exclusively at your Yamaha dealer. Now get payments from $69 a month plus up to $1,000 cash back.
Welcome back, and what a race we are seeing here. It should have been a routine day when these 5 boys got 7 minutes lead over the field. Well, any second now, they're going to have a lot of big names for company because they are riding just on half a minute behind them is the whole field that matters in the Tour de France. 2 minutes back is Christophe Moreau and some big sprinters, so they've got a lot of reason to race now in the main peloton. The sprinters want the stage win, and the other big favourites want the time gap on Christophe. The catch is probably within the next half mile or so. It's just over 31 seconds, maybe a mile. That's all they'll survive, a couple of kilometres. This has been a tough time. There's the team cars pulled out, stopped on the right of the road now. There's nothing between the peloton and the 5 breakaways. And then we're going to see yet another change of race tactics, because with nobody up front, these boys are racing for the win as well.
Well, this is the group of Moreau we're looking at here. There's Moreau. He's got a few more teammates around him. He's getting some help there from number 88. That's Tadej Valjevec, another one of the riders who was hoping for a top 10 finish in the Tour de France this afternoon. A little bit of inexperience on his part, missing a move like that.
Yeah.
It should have been something that the guys who were looking to win this race overall were being attentive to, because just before the aggression started, we did notice, you and I, Phil, that how straight those flags were up the side of the road. And strangely enough, the 2 flags that we saw across the side of the road there were the flags of Kazakhstan.
There must have been a signal, that's all I can say, Paul. Tadej Valjevec, he rode his first Tour de France last year and finished in 17th place. A great promise for the future. He's been caught in this bit. Oh, my old back here. David Miller knows it's all going wrong. He's carrying all that heavy water he's got. Now he'll pass it out to the riders on his team as they pick him up one by one. You see the wind on those French flags. That's what they use today. They should have done it in northern France as well. They would have cracked the peloton there too.
Well, I think that's what Bernard Hinault was reproaching the riders for, but I think the riders needed just to take it a little bit easy over the first few days, because we are going to have, I think, a lot of tired bodies when we take this race up into the Pyrenees, because let's not forget, we've got a very important individual time trial, Phil, coming up the day after tomorrow, but after that, we've got 3 massive Pyrenean stages, and you have to be fresh to race through the Pyrenees with 2 mountaintop finishes.
Well, Ball of World have put a man up. Quickstep have put a man up. Astana have put all their men up. The yellow jersey won't ride too far away. There's a yellow jersey in there too of Sonia Duval. Shortly we're going to pick up Miller first and then the other riders as well. There's no slowing of this leading peloton, and there's a spectator falling over there, but there's no slowing at all. Here comes Miller, and look at that, the bottles. Where's my mate at the front? This is brilliant teamwork. And that's how you actually play your part on a team of the Tour de France. Sorry, we cut away from that shot. What a shame.
Well, that's what it's all about, being a professional bike rider. You have to be completely and utterly professional every single day of the Tour. And Miller knew that his breakaway was going to get caught. He knew it was a good opportunity to take on board drinks for his riders, who were probably a little bit worried to drop back to the cars, because it's always a dangerous moment. And now the rest of the group have set up Gilbert, Fofanov, Wegman, the man who started all of the aggression, and Florencio, the rider there from Bouygues Telecom and Spain.
These boys thought they were out for the day today when they had 7 minutes, heading up towards an even bigger gap. They thought they were going to fight out the finish in Montpellier, and then there was a change of wind direction, and Astana really put the hammer down. They've wiped out 7 minutes.
They've wiped out 7 minutes in the space of 40 kilometers. I just caught the sight of the face there, just over to the right-hand side of Freddy Rodriguez. Now, he has a very nice history involved with Montpellier. He led out Robbie McEwen to the stage victory the last time the race visited here. And in fact, Rodriguez was going so well, he crossed the line in 3rd place himself.
Well, he's got a real chance now because he's a fast finisher, and he's heading up with not all the sprinters in the group at all now. A lot of work being done there by Maxim Iglinski, Antonio Colom, Sergei Ivanov, using their big men to set the pace at the front. Well, just looking here now at the beautiful walled city as the riders now continue to race towards the finish here. Well, the Rhone River's never seen anything quite like it. As we race down towards the finish today in Montpellier, it's still going to be a very active race.
The time trial. The clock and road are constant, but this bike cheats the wind. Every pedal stroke propels me. Do you hear it? This bike handles, this bike is aero, this bike is my advantage. I am Tom Bonen, I am specialized.
Who wants to be stranded with a flat tire? Changing tires out here could be dangerous, but with these tires, I don't need to worry. Well, I guess I'll be on my way.
Bridgestone, run flat tires.
Bridgestone. The first week of the tour is hectic. There's guys crashing all around you in dangerous corners. It's scary at times, but it's important to just stay focused.
Hey! While other kids were playing games, Jenny was building sandcastles. No one thought she'd ever live in one, except for Jenny. Go inside the world's most extreme homes. All new series. Mondays at 9 on HGTV.
Looking for your next home? Why drive yourself crazy? Visit homes in the newest communities across Colorado without ever leaving your sofa. Just press 888 on your Comcast digital remote. Then go to Real Estate on Searchlight 888.
Get me a lawyer.
Patty! If you were a man, I'd kick the living crap out of you.
If you were a man, I'd be worried.
I know I sound paranoid, but you're the only one I can trust.
Patty Hughes has a new associate.
Whatever it takes, fix this.
You must have seen something that they didn't want you to see.
Just keep her out of this!
Damages. Premieres Tuesday at 10, only on FX.
where love means nothing and innovation is everything. Co-ed matches, coaches on the court, super tiebreakers, and superstars from around the world. World Team Tennis on Versus. The new champ of Wimbledon, Venus Williams, leads the Freedoms to Wrinkle Houston, Sunday at 11:30 on Versus.
Welcome back here as we look down on the road here to the Route du Tour. In case you've missed any of the action today, and boy, you've missed some action if you have, this is Stage 11. Tune in tonight for enhanced prime time coverage beginning at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. As we look down, and Austin Murphy will be a very special guest from Sports Illustrated tonight on the enhanced primetime coverage. Bob Roll, as always, and Al Trautwig there. That's all happening tonight, and what is going to highlight a very special stage of the Tour de France today, because here's Astana with that great man on the right, Sergei Ivanov, driving on again. The green jersey of Tom Bonan is here. They've got rid of Eric Zabel, they've got rid of Robert Forster, they've got rid of Thor Hushoff, and they've also got rid of top Tour contender Christophe Moreau. We saw this happen, and we don't quite know, but we know that the doctors are very concerned about that left knee of Alexander Vinokourov. It's giving him great pain. It's showing signs of it turning just a little bit septic, I think. It's getting infected where he had the leg stitched. So let's hope that this isn't going to be a bad day for Vinokourov, because it's been a great day for this hard-riding team from Astana. They've caused a significant split on a flat stage when nobody was expecting it. Well, as long as the boys in blue keep men at the front, I think Astana, Paul, will also keep sharing the pace, and so too David Miller's team are up here, which is a sign that their sprinter, Vicioso, is probably still up here as well.
Well, I was looking for him to see if he was present. Obviously, I haven't identified him, but I think the ride there by Raniero is probably an indication that he is in the group, and they're very happy to have a situation like this, because they got rid of Hushoff, they've got rid of Zabel, but also for Iban Mayo, they've got rid of this group, and this is the group here we're looking at of Christophe Moreau.
Look how big this group is now. It's half the Tour de France field is grouped up here, and he's getting a little bit of help now from Lamprey, so they could be an indicator they've lost some of their sprinters. Although Bernardi, we think maybe, and he may have got split off in that because he was in the very early break, and I think he also is in this group. So another bad day for the sprinter on Lamprey.
Well, Christophe Moreau may well be pulling himself back into this, because the time gap is coming through now at 1 minute and 38 seconds. And I'm surprised that they're pulling back, because it looks to me as if the hammer is still on in this front field.
Well, this last 32 kilometres is going to be a World Championship pursuit between a massive pack at the front and a massive pack at 1 minute 32 seconds. Moreau is having his own private race back there now. The sort of time gaps you would have expected perhaps to open in the time trial on Saturday, he's now got to close here on Thursday.
Well, he's still got a chance as long as there's still 32 kilometres to go. The French flag now there, you can see, just indicating that the wind has turned around a fraction to become a headwind, and that may well become the ally of Christophe Moreau here in France this afternoon. Most of the other contenders were very sensible in riding at the front end of the main field. They weren't caught out, and I can only wonder, Phil, as we go into the town of Saint-Just, if in fact Moreau was at the back being attended to by the race doctor.
It had been down to the car, there was no question of that, and it obviously had not pedalled back up into a safe position before it went. I would not believe that the riders would attack him when he was visiting the doctor. They just don't do that. That's the gentleman's rule of the race. But if he stayed at the back, well, that's his fault.
Well, it's still hovering and still pretty much locked in at that same gap, 1 minute and 40 seconds, and there's still a number of teams at the front very happy to keep the pace making. Tom Bonan, for a man who's been criticised by a lot of the press as not having the form anymore, I think is riding fairly well there. He looks very comfortable at the front end of the peloton.
He looks better now. Dario Cioni here at the back getting the water on board. He's a teammate of Fred Rodriguez, who might be feeling today could be his day today, you know. Because he's in that front group, and he's a very, very fast finisher without Robin McEwen to lead out today. We've just gone through the town of Saint-Just, and we are 2 minutes faster than the fastest expected time. So we fell behind a little bit in the middle hours, but they've taken it back out into no man's land now.
Well, not an easy ride for anybody here through the countryside of the Camargue. Phil, there'll be a lot of sore bodies because of this, and a lot of worried bodies because they know now that tactically Team Astana are very astute. They're looking for any opportunity to move their man Andreas Kloden up in the overall classification. And of course, Alexander Vinokourov is still probably thinking about the possibility of a podium position.
Well, there's the cows and the horses of the Camargue in Saint-Just here. Just 19 miles or 30.6 kilometers left to ride on what has been a terrific day of racing today. And here comes the unfortunate AG2R team. Have got to show all of their salt now and try and drag Morrow back up to that peloton. There's still a big gap between the two of them. And time is ticking out here. Valjevet, 17th in the Tour last year, is helping because he wants to get up there himself. He wants to. He was hoping for a top 10 finish this year. Well, this is a big mistake.
They're still locked in at 1 minute and 40 seconds, and just looking at Team AG2R there, I was bearing in mind what Laurent Fignon, the former two-time winner of the Tour de France, said to me about Christophe Moreau and AG2R. He said, if you're riding this race to get yourself onto the podium, you only must have that single thought in your mind. And he's been actually criticizing the team management for launching attacks off the front end of the main field to get a little bit of television publicity. Well, that, although it does gain publicity for the team, it takes energy away for the guys for days like this when you just might need that little bit of extra help.
Well, at least they're getting a lot of publicity today, Paul, in that chase group. There is Tom Bonan sitting off to the left in the green jersey. And more help required. That looks like Sabadelli is wanting some of the other riders to come through and do some work now. CSC sat there, for example, and give this breakaway a little bit more firepower because the gap is there. But if they don't keep it up, Christophe Moreau will come back to the group because they certainly haven't given up the chase here. As we look at the leaders driving at the front now, is Colomb on the front here, Sergei Ivanov. As they head towards the finish, they're almost here. They're only about 29 kilometers away. Well, we'll take a quick break. Look at Freddy Rodriguez there. He's our man when we come back after the break, because right now Freddy has put himself in a great position to possibly win a stage of the Tour de France today. Let's hope he can pull it off, because I know Robbie McEwen would be delighted with him if he did. Robbie's back home now.
Okay, now what? Rock, paper, scissors for it? Okay, that's fair. On three? Yeah. 1, 2, 3.
I threw paper.
I threw a rock.
Refreshingly smooth Bud Light. Always worth it.
Low 5.
That's cold.
Having you here.
Floor by floor, one building at a time, cities emerge. As we look around and marvel at their presence, we realize that we're part of something big. This is the world of construction management. Working closely with contractors, engineers, and architects, construction managers monitor and coordinate various phases of the construction project. Introducing the new construction management program at ITT Technical Institute School of Drafting and Design, offering educational opportunities that help students prepare to pursue challenging and rewarding careers in the construction industry. ITT Technical Institute School of Drafting and Design, education for the future. To find out more, call 1-800-488-3116 or visit us on the web.
This summer, Versus is bringing the stars, the stripes,
the painkillers. It's gonna be a red, white, black, and blue summer.
It's just something that you're either willing to accept or you're not.
The toughest athletes are gonna dish it out and take it on the chin. The competition is on, and the cost of victory is paid. The versus red, white, black, and blue summer. The suffering continues.
Pain's a good thing sometimes.
All summer long.
Welcome back to the Tour. These are where the Americans stand in the Tour de France as of this morning. 9th place for Levi Leipheimer, could be 8th by the end of the day now. 25th, Chris Horner. 39th, George Hincapie. Christian van der Velde riding superbly. Freddie Rodriguez may look for the win today because he's lost his team man now who's been leading out, Robbie McEwen, and he's in the front split. And Dave Zabriskie there on Team CSC, also with a job to play in the Tour de France. Well, as we race in now around the Camargue, Robbie McEwen, of course, sadly eliminated on the road to Tignes in the High Alps. And because of that, he had been injured. His lead-out man, Freddie Rodriguez, is now free to fly for himself. Well, he has the nickname Fast Freddie. Let's learn more about Freddie Rodriguez with our Hampton athlete profile.
Funny, it's like I've gotten myself in this weird situation because I've always ridden for, you know, I rode for Montpellier, I rode for Domo Farm Frites, I've ridden for teams that really have little interest in the American market, but then in the same time they have an American rider that's successful here in Europe. So it's been a really hard making sure that everybody gets the attention of who I am. I think one thing is we're all caught up in this whole Lance thing or yellow jersey and discovery. It's about winning the Tour de France, and so sprints for the American public have been as a focal point. I do go back and race in the U.S. I race Georgia and I race Tour of California, and I do line up to the start, and I can sense the public acknowledgement of different riders. You know, Freddie Rodriguez, George Hincapie, Levi Leipheimer, and so on, and you can hear the crowd, and that kind of gives me kind of a reading for how many fans I really have. So when you look at that, I know that I have a good following in the U.S.
All smiles, Freddie. That's our Hampton Hotel's athlete profile. Freddie Rodriguez, yes, he's been a champion of the US on 3 occasions. 132nd overall in the 2005 Tour de France. He crashed out, sadly, last year. That was a great shame. He never really got his teeth into the race, but he's in today. And he is a very strong sprinter. He hasn't won a stage yet in the Tour de France, but he has won a stage in the Giro d'Italia. So let's see if he can do it today. Because he's right down there in that group, which has just gone through 25 kilometers to go. And there's the wind that's caused the damage, ripping right across the face of the field today. And that's the sort of wind which, as you can see, does all the bad news. So, as we're looking still at the work and the concentration of the big boys from Astana, plenty of help coming from Case d'Apon. 2 races going on here now. The stars are putting the domestiques up to keep Moreau away, and the sprinters are putting their domestiques up so they can have a sprint without Eric Zabel and Thor Hushoff.
Well, it's a very difficult tactical race to try and control, and that's why we're seeing the gap is still locked in, Phil, at around about the 2-minute mark. But even though Christophe Moreau is getting a little bit of help from Team Milram, some help from the FDJ, they're actually now starting to lose time, because inside of 25 kilometers to go for the second part of the main field, they've actually lost time at 1 minute and 57 seconds.
Well, these boys haven't eased up, and they can't see them up the road, 1 minute 57. So the team cars won't be getting involved now. That'd be nice, and they'll be told by the referees to keep those vehicles tight up behind one another, tight up to the back of the peloton, so there's no carrot for the peloton to chase from behind. that both riders are taking. I think if they can limit it to 157, they should probably feel fortunate, Paul.
I think I would bank that straight away, because they're actually not looking all that strong in the second part of the main field. And obviously, as they get closer to the finish, the teams of the sprinters, Milram, will say, well, forget it today. We're not going to pull Eric Zabel back into this. So you're only going to have 3 or 4 riders setting the pace on the front end of that main group. And that, I think, could actually end up in a result of about 4-minute loss for Christophe Moreau.
Yeah.
He must be panicking a fraction.
I can't blame him. This is the smallest man in the race out of the back here, the Russian rider Alexander Botcharov for Crédit Agricole at the moment. As the riders now, you can see how exposed it is here, this Languedoc wine region. We haven't had a good shot of the Camargue yet from our helicopter, which is a shame, because I thought we might have seen the flamingos today, which are famous in this region. And now we're coming down just in miles, about 13.7, and in kilometres, 21.7 to the finish. Paul, we are coming down here so fast we can almost get lunch rather than tea tonight.
Well, I don't think anybody expected the race to be quite as fast as this afternoon, but what has made everybody come out and race angrily is the very strong wind, which this area is renowned for. There are 2 major winds in this part of the world. You've got the Mistral, which blows from north to south, and you've got the Tramontana, which blows from east to west. And it was pretty much today the Mistral that was blowing down there, because it was right across the main road.
And it has been blowing for quite a while this summer down here in this part of France. As we see now the peloton, these are all the bikes and motorbikes, cameras, police escort, and then come the peloton led by Christophe Rinero for David Millers. And there's Fred Rodriguez going round looking very cool. I have to say, Paul, if I was a betting man, I might go for him today.
Well, Freddie Rodriguez there, he's got a 2-pronged tactic here this afternoon. You might have noticed just sitting on his wheel was Cadel Evans. Cadel Evans is in 4th place in the overall classification. He's only 6 seconds off 2nd place overall. So Freddie's got to look after Cadel Evans up until the last few kilometers of the race, and then he can have his freedom to try and go and get a stage victory himself. But this team is such a solid team, they will try and pay back, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Cadel Evans actually trying to pace Freddie Rodriguez into first 4 or 5 places on the run into the line.
Well, that's certainly something to watch for. The other American, Chris Horner, is in there as well. He hasn't made any mistakes today. 2 minutes 3 seconds they're saying now to the second peloton, which means they've lost another 6 seconds in that second group. Well, as we see the main peloton here now course around this beautiful Roman settlement again. We'll go to a break this time, and this time we'll show you a little bit about what we've seen already in our journey around France. See you in a moment.
The Cervelo SLC SL is a pure sprinting machine. Learn more and enter to win the Cervelo Dream Bike at competitivecyclist.com.
I signed up for car insurance on progressive.com. I saved money, which was great, but they also have these local response vehicles. And if you're in an accident or need an estimate or whatever, a Progressive guy will come to you. And they're all over. I am a musician who's on the road a lot, so it's pretty cool that they'll come to me if my van, you know, gets pummeled by adoring fans. Or if I hit a pole.
Progressive. Saving hundreds is just the beginning.
It came out of nowhere.
Houston, we are on final approach to the easiest place in the universe to book a room. Touchdown. The Bodad has landed. Motel6.com. We'll leave the light on for you.
People are smart, so they've always tried to package things that go together, like macaroni and cheese, or one of those keychain flashlight thingies, because some combinations just make sense. And it's this belief that led to the creation of our Real Life Plan. It's a 30-year fixed mortgage with a low 6 1/8% rate, a home equity loan, and a credit card that helps pay down your loan every time you use it. To learn more, call 1-800-DITEC-1. DITEC. People are smart.
honey. Rock Bottom's Backyard Barbecue, and they're tapping that beer you love. American Dream Ale. Hey! You're doing it again.
It's Rock Bottom's Backyard Barbecue, featuring American Dream Ale. Build your own ultimate backyard burger. The crisp, delicious Waldorf Wedge. Our juicy 20-ounce T-bone, plus choose your favorite picnic side. Grilled food and chilled beers. Now that's a barbecue.
Met zijn lange, brede haling. Hier komt Bonen. Hij gaat niet stilvallen. Bonen gaat het halen. Of is het Stekmans die het pakt? Het is Stekmans die hem pakt. Daar komen de mannen van Gerelstein. En Bonen moet nu komen. Bonen op één. Bonen nog altijd op één. Oh la la la. Dan Bonen. Pakt hem. Ja. Pakt hem.
And that's what it's like when you're a television commentator in the Flemish tongue, as they celebrated 2 wins there for Belgian riders in the opening week of the Tour. And it could be another one today. Tom Bonen is in the move. We're 11 miles now. The gap at 20 kilometres to go, which is 12 miles, has gone out to 2 minutes and 9 seconds for Moreau. Well, that gap is moving out now, Paul. 2 minutes, 9 seconds, and it could even be more at the next check.
Well, that really is sad for Christophe Moreau, but he should have been that little bit more attentive on a day like this. We may find out later on, after the race has gone over, that he was sitting at the back end of the field, having just been to the race doctor to look after his injuries. Superficial injuries as they may be, it's always a hurt when you go down on a road like this. And we can see now at the front end of the main field that they're starting to think now about the victory of the stage, and there's still some very good sprinters in this group. Alejandro Valverde over on the left-hand side with his men. Vicente Garcia Acosta, one of the men of the Flatlands, who's looking after his man to keep him at the front end of the peloton. Hincapie looking after Levi Leipheimer there in the red, white and blue jersey for Leipheimer, and Alberto Contador just behind him. They have reported present and correct here this afternoon. They were not caught out by the crosswinds.
They were riding very cleverly up near the front, and George here now making sure he keeps the wind off little Leipheimer, who's tucked in on his back wheel. Chris Horner is looking after Cadell Evans. All doing a good job, except for poor old Moreau.
Well, a chance
there
here.
we are, 10.4 miles to go now. That peloton from this angle, it doesn't look very big, does it? And just another final reminder for you to come on board and enjoy our Saab Watch and Win sweepstakes. Versus.com/fly to the finish is the way you get on board. And then you will need the keyword, and today's keyword is Marseille. So that's the fly to the finish reminder, and there's the keyword, Marseille. Back down to the action. It doesn't look a very big peloton, does it now? But it is, and the only star name missing from it as far as the overall goes is Moreau. He's going to kick himself around the hotel room tonight. Some sprinters also got caught out, which is a bit more of a surprise on a road like this. But the sprinters who stayed up front, they're going to make the most of this now, because we're getting down towards the last 15 kilometers of the day. We'll just take a quick break. Rejoin us.
Sono Paolo Bettini, sono campione del mondo e campione olimpico. Chiedo il massimo dalla mia bicicletta. Voglio che sia ripida, leggera, bella e precisa, ma più di tutto che sia veloce. Questa è la mia bicicletta. I am Specialized.
Prices they got in here. $8 candy bar, $11 for a can or two. Now it's prices like these that's keeping folks from living the high life. Sir, where's your beer section? Thank you. A good, honest beer at a tasty price. That's what we stand for. Clean up on aisle common sense. Hey, let me grab this. That's how we do it. Get in and out, boy. You just lost your right to sell Miller High Life is what you did.
We pitted 2 cars in a fight to the death to prove a point about maximum horsepower. The black car with Castrol Syntec, the red the leading conventional oil. In torture tests, Castrol Syntec 5W30 maintained maximum horsepower 29% longer. Conventional oil got smoked.
Don't you use conventional oil? Not anymore.
Want more proof? Go to castrolsyntec.com. It's more than just oil, it's liquid engineering.
It was known as the Tour of Chaos. This year, who'll get it back on track? Alexander Vinokourov, the most dangerous, determined, aggressive, and holding a grudge. Alejandro Valverde has all the tools to win it, if he can finish. Dennis Menchov, a good rider needs a great team, and he's got one of the best. Levi Leipheimer, new style, new team, and visions of a ninth straight American victory. The real drama continues. The Tour de France, Stage 12, live tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. on Versus.
What do you think of Mike Wallace and the Geico Chevrolet?
Whatever. He's out there selling car insurance. I'm out there to win.
Isn't he your cousin?
I didn't say I wouldn't go fishing with the man. All I'm saying is, if he comes near me, I'll put him in the wall.
But you don't race in the Busch Series.
Listen, go-kart track, grocery store, those remote-control boats. When it comes to Mike Wallace, the story ends with me putting him in the wall.
Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
When you take it off, you're gonna like what you see.
Scotch Blue Painter's Tapes.
Yeah, when you take it off, you're gonna like what you see.
Goes on easy, comes off clean, leaving professional paint lines.
Looking good, you got to agree.
Scotch Blue Painter's Tapes for delicate or multi-surfaces.
Go on, take it off.
Welcome back to the Tour de France, and here's the story of the day. Christophe Moreau had a tumble. It didn't seem to be a bad one at first, but he sat at the back of the peloton. Team Astana launched an attack that ripped the field to shreds, and at 100 kilometers, Moreau fell back into a chasing group. He is now at 15 kilometers from the finish. The gap for Moreau and the main pack with the yellow jersey in it is 2 minutes and 25 seconds. So in these last few kilometers, the gap is opening now, and Christophe Moreau tonight will not be in the top 10 overall of the Tour de France. He started the day in touch in 6th place. Now it's time to swing our attention, I guess, to the finishing line, which should still be for the sprinters who are left in the front group. So let's go and take a look at the finishing line here in Montpellier now with Robbie Ventura.
If today's stage does indeed finish in a field sprint, the fast men have a few things to contend with in the final kilometer. At about 750 meters to go, there's a very hard right, left, right that'll thin out the field considerably. Then in the final 300 meters, you can see this long bend to the right. An excellent spot for a guy to take the inside. It's faster and it's shorter. However, they do leave themselves susceptible to getting pinched into the barriers. Doesn't matter how fast you are. If you don't have a clean line to the finish, you can't win the race.
And you're quite right, Robbie. That's a good point. Where Robbie was standing there is just on 500 meters. You come off that sharp right-hand bend, you will see the finishing line. But as he says, if you get chopped up and hit the barriers, that'll be a different story. Well, the pain on the face of Team Discovery as they race towards that line. Well, now I think, Paul, we really can talk about the sprinters, because 2:25, and he's only got, what, inside 15 kilometers to go. He's going to be looking to get away with 3 minutes now.
He's losing time consistently. The teams of the sprinters, Crédit Agricole and Milram, who are with him, they're not going to work anymore now, because they've read the race. They've figured there's no chance of coming back into this race, so they've given up the ghost. The only team who will work in that group behind now will be AG2R, and it could very easily be the 3 to 4 minute margin by the time they get to the line. In the front here, the teams of the sprinters are starting to think about victory, and I've noticed Robbie Hunter is locked onto the wheel of Tom Boonen all of the time. He's got to try and figure out, though, how can he get past big torpedo Tom from Belgium.
And that'll take a bit of figuring out. It all happened in seconds. It's 180 kilometers racing, and in a matter of seconds, you've lost all you've worked for 2 weeks, and that's what's happened. Well, we're looking at the whole of AG2R now, trying to get round their man here and just drag him into a reasonable loss for the day, because that's what he can only talk for now, is a reasonable loss. 6.8 miles to go. The peloton is flying, and Moreau is not, right behind. We're going to take a quick break, then rejoin us for the ride to the finish.
Yourself. The 3 Series is here. With elegant styling and a powerful yet fuel-efficient inline 6-cylinder engine. Stop in and take a test drive today.
The Cervelo SLC SL is a pure sprinting machine. Learn more and enter to win this Cervelo Dream Bike at CompetitiveCyclist.com.
Pressure. Enemy of engines. Enemy of pressure. Pennzoil Platinum Full Synthetic with adaptive molecules that continually join forces to help conquer pressure.
MMA can be extremely artful, it can be scientific, it can be a chess match, or it can be a brutal, quick knockout that nobody ever expected it.
Hopefully, Connie, you're still up for it. Baby, I'm coming after that bell.
While other kids were playing games, Jenny was building sandcastles. No one thought she'd ever live in one, except for Jenny. Go inside the world's most extreme homes. All new series. Mondays at 9 on HGTV.
Looking for your next home? Why drive yourself crazy? Visit homes in the newest communities across Colorado without ever leaving your sofa. Just press 888 on your Comcast digital remote. Then go to Real Estate on Searchlight 888.
Camp of Wimbledon, Venus Williams leads the Freedoms to Wrangell, Houston. Sunday at 11:30 on Versus.
Welcome back. Our camera's looking down on the leading peloton of the Tour de France. The yellow jersey is here and safe for Christophe Moreau. There he is in the chase group, and he's losing now almost 3 minutes. But in this group as well are some of the sprinters who are losing out today, including Eric Zabel and Thor Hushoff. And those guys are paying a price, particularly Zabel. But up in the front group, the strong sprinters like Robbie Hunter, Freddie Rodriguez, he might have his moment today. Tom Bonen is up there as well. They are likely to gain most today when it comes down to the finish. There we go, and the gap, I missed it, I think it was nearly 3 minutes the time gap. So they are now inside 10 kilometers to go. The gap continues to open for the leaders over Christophe Moreau. He's a big professional rider, but he's learned a lesson today. Don't sit near the back of the bunch when the wind changes direction.
Well, that's a difficult thing to do for a man who was injured. Let's not forget in the early part of the race, just slipping to the back there, the Discovery rider there, Benjamin Noval, has done a lot of work at the front end of this group over the last couple of kilometers. And let's bear in mind that he also was involved in a nasty crash on the straight into Auton, because he went through the back window of one of the team manager's cars and had a serious amount of cuts to the face and had to have glass removed from his shoulders. But he's riding himself stronger in the last part of the race.
These boys have had a very, very hard day, but coming in ahead of the fastest expected time by a couple of minutes. And that's because the way this race has gone today. David Miller, who was in the breakaway 7 minutes up when the tornado hit the Camargue, got wiped out with the group. He's back in this leading group, though, as they now try to ride towards the finish.
Well, Team Barlow World are keeping it organised. Over on the right-hand side, you can see Chris Horner. Now, he has to be looking after fast Freddie Rodriguez. I remember when Rodriguez first rode his tours, he was leading the sprints out for Tom Steels, and sometimes he was so fast on the run into the finish that Tom Steels couldn't even stay on his wheel. In the latter part of his career, he spent most of his time sacrificing himself for Robbie McEwen. Today, he's got a very unique opportunity to sprint on his own account.
You can also here see Fabien Cancellara in here for Team CSC, who led for a week in the Tour de France and has since been washed away again in the Alps. He's a team helper now rather than a Tour winner. A lot of guys swapping turns at the front. While they're swapping turns like this, they're going to keep on pulling away from the Moreau group. But the sprinters are trying now to get themselves into position here at just over 5 to go.
Well, this is actually going to be a very strange sprint because there's not going to be a proper train, because a lot of teams do not have their men in the group here because this main field has been split into 2 distinct parts. Tom Boonen has been using a lot of his riders on the front end of the main field to actually keep the gap between himself and the other sprinters. As we look now at this group going under 5 kilometers to go, I wonder which team is actually going to have the firepower to lead out the sprint. There's Robbie Hunter in the middle there in the red and white.
Licking his lips at the moment. I'm just trying to see if Filippo Pozzato is here, because all the other Liquigas riders are, so I guess he must be. Coming up to 4 to go. So we're looking at the riders now. They're just under 5 kilometers from the finish. They're approaching 4. All the sprinters are moving to the front and definitely out of the hunt and approaching 3 minutes behind the first big casualty of the overall today in the Tour de France. And Moreau will be out of the top 10. And we've got an attack by Sonia Duval.
Well, this is a very tricky move. It is Christophe Renero, former 4th place finisher in the Tour de France and a winner of the King of the Mountains classification. But if you want to know who really wants to win this afternoon, you can get an indication from this. The men in blue have moved forward for the man in green.
Again, Quick Step. They've had 3 stage wins so far, are trying to set this one up. They've won with 3 different riders, Cedric Vasseur, Gert Steegmans and Tom Bonham. They're trying to set this one up, though, for the man in green. He's not got much firepower at this distance from the finish, though. He's in 3rd place, and the other sprinters of Filippo Pozzato are moving up.
Hunter is locked onto the wheel there of Tom Bonham. This again, he said, you don't get very many opportunities in a race like the Tour de France, but someone else has just chunked down the right-hand side of the road. This could be a big surprise. Look at Quick Step. They cannot panic. It's a right. It's Vinokourov.
Well, look at that. Go for it, Alexander. 3.9 kilometers. Is this why he set it up? Revenge could be sweet. What a turn of speed by Alexander.
This is unbelievable. He's 21st place in the overall standings, and he's gone out of the front end of the main field. His team toughened it up. He's putting pressure on the sprinters right now. I don't think he's going to pull it off, but this is a brave move.
Boy, this will win him a lot of friends, because this is the injured man, the odds-on favourite to win the Tour de France. He's lost his chance, I think. He's 8 minutes back now. It was his team which split the field today to put Moreau out of contention, and now the cheek of it. He's trying to win on his own here down in Montpellier.
Well, forget about this attack on the flat, Phil. This man, despite the pain, look at those knees, both of the knees completely and utterly bandaged up, almost 45 to 50 stitches in both of them together. When we go to the Pyrenees and the attacks like that, ooh, it's going to hurt.
And it's hurt Quick Step, but they've clawed him back in here at 2.8 kilometers. His escape was about 1 kilometer. They're all thinking, what on earth is that man doing? But they've clawed him back. Now there'll be a change of direction. This isn't looking so good anymore for Tom Bonham, because this race is no longer under control. Everybody is charging into Montpellier with everybody in with a chance.
Watch out for Julian Dean, because when I saw the split a little bit earlier on, I saw the black and white jersey of the champion of New Zealand. I can't see him here, but with Team Crédit Agricole setting up the pacemaking like that, I'm sure that Julian Dean must be thinking about the possibility of a victory. Team Liquigas are right up there as well in 3rd, 4th and 5th place, but Tomica Boonen is right there. Still on his wheel is Robbie Hunter.
As we head under 2 kilometers to go to the finish, we're on a sort of dual carriageway just out of town here, but it gets a little bit tortuous. We duck and dive and go through a tunnel, believe it or not, before we line up for the finish. There's still time for confusion and Julian Dean is right there, that white jersey with the black collars. This could be a great day for New Zealand if he can get it right. There's an attack gone up with a tremendous change of speed because we're heading for the tunnel.
Well, CSC have taken a look at that advantage. The acceleration now is putting a lot of riders under pressure. Robbie Hunter must not panic. He must stay there and wait and gamble on this all coming together. We've gone underneath the tunnel. Who's going to come out first? 3 riders with about a 10-length advantage over the front end of the main field, but very quickly it's all back together.
It was Cancellara who launched the attack there, which he was also 1 kilometre to go. Now this is a right-hander, then we've got another right-hander at 500, and they've gone far too wide, and there's been a crash down on the barriers, and we don't know who's taken out, but it's given Liquigas the lead.
Well, that was a sweeping bend over to the left-hand side. A number of riders have gone out, but it's Liquigas who've got the organisation. Robbie Hunter's right in there, filling about 6th position.
Well, Freddie Rodriguez is a faller from what I can hear at that very bend as they continue to line up for the finish now, and this is a huge turnout, but this is not going to be a routine finish. Tom Bonan at the moment is not in the hunt for this.
Bonan was one of the riders who went down. I'm looking to see if I can see the green jersey there, but Robbie Hunter is in an ideal position. He's in around about 4th.
Hunter now dodging in amongst the wheels here as the sprint is opened here by Timo. That's 500 to go. Hunter springs wide here. The rider's just about holding the line. Bonan and Rodriguez down in the sprint. Robbie Hunter now is heading for his first ever victory in a stage of the Tour de France. Barlow World are having a dream tour. Can he hold on? This will be a special win. He's being challenged. He's got it on the line. Robbie Hunter scores for South Africa. The wildcard team have got a second stage win, but the sadness is that Bonan and Rodriguez down on that corner.
Well, they came around that corner in an unbelievable speed, and they were caught out, I think, by the severity, but what a brilliant sprint by Robbie Hunter. He was right at the front and he was never very far away. This is the crash. We're having a look down who's on the ground here. A linker over on the left-hand side, that's Freddie Rodriguez who's gone down. Julian Dean went down as well. There he is in the black and white, the Kiwi. Ventoso has gone down also, but this was the chaos inside, and this is Frank Schleck. He was also involved. He was at the front end of the group, and that's not really a place where he should have been.
Well, Marcel Seberg, the tallest man in the race, was down there as well. Freddie looks a little bit stunned. These are the riders coming in now. Let's hope that they're all okay. Julian Dean was right in the position there. They went too wide. Just take a look at that. They swept out far too wide. They clipped the barriers. Foot on the ground there for Tom Bonan, and he's brought to a stop, but I'm not sure Tom actually fell off.
Well, I'm not sure if he did go down, but one thing we know for absolute certainty, that the man in red and white of Team Barlow World, Robbie Hunter, lunges for the line, and is that man happy? I think so.
Well, wouldn't you be? Because Robbie Hunter has just got South Africa's first ever stage win in a Tour de France.
Let's have a look at that again. This is how we come around the corner here. You can see right up at the front end, we'll get a chance to see who made the mistake there. That's the final corner. Robbie Hunter has got a clear lead at this point. Pipo Pozzato is battling to get onto his wheel. Give Robbie Hunter a clear dash for the line, and excuse me, he's got his bikes all over the place. He really is like Jamaluddin Abdul-Jabbarov, but he's got the win, and that's exactly what he wanted.
He's a little bit straighter when he sprints. Robbie Hunter there, what a great win. And here we've forgotten in the excitement of the sprint, but here comes the Christophe Moreau group. The clock is counting now. Already over 2 minutes has passed by. He is going to lose more than 3 minutes today, Christophe Moreau, Paul. In the end, the elastic snapped big time.
It certainly did. He had to keep battling all the way down towards the end, but I think he's a courageous rider at 36 years of age. He's a rider who's got an awful lot of talent. Still injured riders picking themselves up from that crash. A lot of riders in this group. This is a massive group that were caught out by the acceleration of Team Astana. Christophe Moreau will be looking at the clock, and it's already 2.5 minutes. It's probably, Phil, going to be 3 minutes on the line.
He's got quite a way to go, half a kilometre or so. The crash, unfortunately, dislodging 2 sprinters in perfect position, Julian Dean and Freddie Rodriguez. They just went, overshot the corner, swung wide, hit the barriers. That corner caught them out, and Hunter ended a perfect day for South Africa. It's not been a perfect day for this rider, though. Christophe Moreau will not believe his bad luck today. A moment in attention, a silly fall with a teammate early on, and here is the result. Time losses as he comes home on a day when he shouldn't have lost anything. He's going to cross the line 3 minutes and 20 seconds down.
That is a massive loss for a man who started the day in the top 10 in the overall classification, but actually, Phil, all of the other contenders were very much comfortably there. Valverde, Cadel, Evans, Alberto Contador, Levi Leipheimer, they were all in the front group. Only Moreau missed out.
Well, we'll have to take a break and then we'll come back with everything, but I can tell you that Hunter has got his win, and it was Fabian Cancellara who was right alongside him in the sprint and very annoyed with himself. Cancellara can do anything he likes, but that fall took out Flying Fast Freddy, and what a shame that was. He was perfectly positioned. Coming up, the podiums and results.
People are smart, and when it comes to home loans, they don't like smoke and mirrors. Well, unless they're a magician or an illusionist, which is just a fancy word for magician. What they do like is getting what they're promised, like our Smart Rate. It's a 30-year fixed mortgage with a rate around 6 1/8%. To find out more, call us at 1-800-DITEC-1 and let us help you get the loan you need without being sawed in half. DITEC. People are smart.
I worked a swing shift and I rarely saw my wife. I worked long hours with little satisfaction. I needed to get out. It's a frightening situation to be 30 and starting again all over on a second career. My first employer actually came to ITT Tech before I graduated because they believe in the curriculum. I now have my dream job that I've waited patiently for all this time. My responsibilities include training employees from other companies in CAD, as well as providing support to our customers. I love helping people. I love seeing that look in their face when it finally clicks for them. I believe things are only going to get better from here on.
We are educators helping people build a foundation for the rest of their lives. ITT Technical Institute, education for the future. To find out more, call 1-800-488-3116 or visit us on the web. Get an education that can help you reach your goals. ITT Tech has information on financial aid for those who qualify. Call 1-800-488-3116.
189 of the world's greatest cyclists are coming to France for one reason.
He's still got fight in him.
To sprint.
He's taken no chances here.
Climb.
He blew the race apart.
Sweat.
Nice show of determination.
Bleed.
Oh my God!
Fight.
What a finish!
To be the one pure champion.
Where does he find the strength from?
The real drama continues. The Tour de France. Stage 12. Live tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. on Versus.
Saab was founded by 16 aircraft engineers. Their spirit lives on in the turbocharged 2007 Saab 9-3 Sport Combi. With all the storage space you need, an estimated 30 miles per gallon, and a starting price under $29,000, you're closer to owning a jet than you think. Saab, born from jets. Log on to Versus.com/fly to the finish for your chance to win a 2007 Saab 9-3 Sport Combi and a new Cervelo bike.
We know what men like. Mitchum Smart Solid. Powerful protection, unbeatable against white residue. Wow, let's see that again. For powerful all-day protection that doesn't come off on your shirt, be a smart Mitchum man.
Hello!
I thought I heard something.
Get me out of here, please.
Seems too intense for theaters, kept from the public until today. The Hills Have Eyes 2, unrated on DVD today.
There is a breed of man that competes for reasons that may not be entirely obvious. It isn't for money or for glory. They're fueled by different motivations.
I won't give up anything to anyone. I love being the best.
The athletes of the red, white, black, and blue summer. They don't play, they endure. It's not a game, it's attrition. There are no winners, there are only survivors.
That's the definition of macho right there.
This is not a sprint. This is a death march.
Oh, dear me. Very nasty tumble there.
And that is a horrible crash. And he got nailed there.
That's a huge fight-turning punch.
Tap out finds a fighter who's got the determination, skill, the belief. He's family.
Oh, that will definitely make a lot of pain.
Are you kidding me? The straight left out of nowhere. He's out. This fight is stopped. He's going to
versus red, white, black, and blue summer. A celebration of indomitable spirit, intestinal fortitude, and an amazing threshold for pain. The versus red, white, black, and blue summer continues all summer long.
Well, welcome back as we look out to the Mediterranean across Montpellier here. This has been an amazing day in the Tour de France when it should have been a routine flat stage. A possible overall contender loses 3 minutes, and a South African becomes the first ever African rider from that big continent to win a stage of the Tour de France.
Well, it was a day when we really didn't expect very much to happen. The main contenders to sit in the main field, but for Robbie Hunter, he was always nurturing the dream of winning a stage of the Tour. He's tasted victory before, Phil, in the Grand Tours, but that was in the Vuelta a España. But this is the one that he was always dreaming about.
Well, let's have a look at the stage results. Hunter wins at the same time as Fabian Cancellara. Muriel Fischer was very close to Liquigas, just ahead of his teammate Pozzato. Alessandro Ballan for Lampre getting into the top 5 there. Further down, Bossoni, the other sprinter on Lampre. Also Philippe Gilbert, despite being in the break, finished off with 8th place. Kim Kirken sprinting well, completing the top 10. Everybody given the same time, indeed, as will all of the fallers today. And there is the top 15 for you, with Andrei Kashikin of Kazakhstan still riding well. These are all placed at small time gaps, so they must have split the field. But I think, Paul, at the end of the day, they will all come in at the same time.
There's a lot of riders, though, Phil, caught out because of the severity of the wind on today's stage. That was the main enemy of the riders this afternoon, because that howling Mistral that blew across the race split this race to complete and utter smithereens. 10 minutes lost for these guys, and still there are guys coming in.
Well, of course, all the riders who got split out won't get the same time, but everybody who fell in that last kilometre will get the same time, because that's the international rule. We've applied it already during the Tour de France this year, so I think all of the front runners in the end will be given the same time. But one happy man there, Robbie Hunter. He's never won a stage of the Tour before. He's won a couple of stages in the Vuelta a España. And last year, he was a tremendous rider for Floyd Landish when he was on his Phonak team. And he's brought that same form this time. Well, the big loser today, Paul, is Christophe Moreau. A crash, a moment in attention, and he's lost about 3 minutes and 20 seconds, something like that.
But it all started badly for Christophe Moreau, wearing number 61, because he was involved in one of those strange tumbles in the early part of the race, and the race doctor looked after him on a number of occasions. Mainly these were superficial abrasions, but that may well be why he was riding towards the back end of the main field, because when Astana went to the front and put the hammer down, we were making our way through the gaps of riders who've been left behind, and we found the red, white and blue.
Well, it's always sad, especially if you're the champion of France and you're sitting best Frenchman in your home Tour. He was in 6th. He'll be outside the top 10, I think. Let's find out. These are the Milk Globe Ultra overall standings. Razuzan keeps his jersey for the 4th day. Valverde, no change here. Mayo is 3rd. Evans is 4th. Contador 5th. All the time gaps are still the same. Claude in 6th. Leipheimer now moves up from 9th to 7th today. That's a big jump for him, although his time gap remains the same. Carlos Sastre is 8th. Kim Kirken up as well into 9th, and Astalosa completes the top 10. We're looking where he is, Paul, and there he is. He's dropped from 6th to 12th at 6 minutes 31.
Well, it just goes to indicate you can't bank on tactics in the Tour de France. As we look a little bit further down, Frank Schleck has also lost a bit of time. He's at 7:01. Denny Menchov, a pre-race rider, but Alexander Vinokourov is 19th.
And 8:05, it's time that matters. We'll take another quick break. We're trying to get a word with a very happy South African rider, and we'll go through the podiums as well. See you in a moment.
The 2007 Tour de France on Versus is brought to you by Honda. Free yourself on a Honda Cruiser. Your wings are waiting at cruiser.honda.com. And by HP, the computer is personal again.
Film, animation, and digital effects. I use my computer to connect these three worlds. I transform photos people send me, then he mailed them back. I photographed my son's painting too and post them on his website. I love playing music. I even did the music for this commercial on my computer. I dream a lot, but I'm not a very good sleeper.
HP Pavilion DV9000T with Intel Centrino Duo mobile technology.
At the wind tunnel, you usually see finished products and marketing types. At Cervelo, we take engineers and prototypes. Building a better bike is what Cervelo is all about.
They're crossing the country, searching for the next mixed martial arts badass. All new episodes of the original series, Tap Out, Wednesdays beginning August 1st on Versus.
If you want to soften... Ricky.
The new Subaru Outback with road gripping all-wheel drive, low emissions, and a price starting at just $21,995. So anyone hearing the call of the wild can answer.
Lease a new 2007 Subaru Outback for $0 down and only $249 a month at Flatiron Subaru in Boulder.
He's still got fight in him. To sprint, climb, sweat, bleed, fight to be the one pure champion. The real drama continues. The Tour de France, Stage 11, enhanced tonight at 8 on Versus.
MMA can be extremely artful, it can be scientific, it can be a chess match, or it can be a brutal, quick knockout that nobody ever expected it. And that's what's great about the sport, it's just you never know what's going to happen.
I don't believe in like the fairy tale endings when somebody harnesses their inner spirit to overcome something that they haven't, that they haven't prepared for. I get more hurt in training than I do in a fight. Because when I train hard, and that's where I get hurt most of the time.
I train for pain, I train hard. I'm up in the morning early to get to the gym. I'm the first one in, usually the last one out. I train like this is a warfare. Like I don't plan on coming back.
I refuse to lose, When I step in there, you gotta kill me.
I just keep coming. I'm trying to finish you.
I might go out there and I'm trying to hit you with everything I have and just keep going.
You inflicted damage on me, I'm gonna give it back to you tenfold. I'm gonna make you wish you never even hit me.
It's not fun and games in there, it's intense, and fear is not an option.
It's just an attitude of just go, until you can't go anymore.
It's just getting in my head and flipping that switch. And once I flip that switch, it's showtime.
Welcome back to Montpellier. Stage 11 of the Tour de France is over. One man is out of the top 10 overall, and that's Christophe Moreau. And the man that we're looking for to come out onto the podium right now is the first ever South African rider, and indeed anybody from the African continent, to win a stage of the Tour de France, Paul.
Well, Robbie Hunter's been here so many times before. He almost got himself a stage victory a couple of years ago where he crossed the line in third place when he was the favourite to win that sprint. But today, despite the little bit of turmoil on the running towards the finish, Robbie Hunter finished it off to perfection.
Well, he comes from Johannesburg and they're watching coverage of the Tour de France. They're going to be pretty happy with what they see tonight because they have found a great rider here. He's been sprinting extremely well, but I think what's more pleasing is Baller World really fought for years to get a place in the Tour de France. They were finally given a wild card. They've won a stage in the mountains, and now they've won a stage on the flat. What a dream tour.
Well, it is a dream tour. You think about participating in the Tour de France and maybe getting a single stage victory, but when you get one of the big mountain stages and then a flat stage in between, that is really phenomenal. And don't forget now, Robbie Hunter is looking about the possibility of getting himself the green jersey because he's only 11 points away from Tom Bonen.
That's right, he's moved up from third to second today. Now, I think Craig Hummer is down there, and I think he's just got hold of Robbie Hunter as he stepped off the podium. Let's go to Craig.
Robbie, you said this morning you were hopeful for a chance today, and you must have had Aladdin on your shoulder because your wish was granted. When did you really begin, though, to think that you had a chance in this stage?
I don't think I ever had a chance. I was, I was hoping, in the final 50 Ks to gain maybe 15 or 20 points on Zabel for the green jersey, and for me to have finished second in the green jersey at the end of the day to Tom was obviously a huge achievement as well. In a group like that, you obviously hope for the best, but anything can happen in the final, and Tom was still definitely the favorite in this kind of a finish. He's got such an explosive kick that if he does get it, if he takes off at his distance, it's so hard to come around him. And I was following Tom from about 35k out, and then under the last kilometre, some guys took off, and I decided to go my own way. And in the final roundabout, the Liggett guys on the front, they went in so fast, and they misjudged how tight the corner was. And I had my bike sideways, guys came down behind me, and I never looked back. I just saw there were still 5 guys in front of me, and then with 350 meters to go, I took off as hard as I could around the corner, and I never looked back. I thought the guys were going to come after me, but obviously I went as hard as I could to the finish.
You get your first win ever in the Tour de France, and of course South Africa's first win ever. Most people predicted a sprint finish, but the way it unfolded, certainly no one would have predicted. How surprised were you with Astana's tactics with 70k to go?
Well, I think it kind of surprised everyone. There was a small voice flying around in the group that as we went into the feed zone, that somebody was going to try something, and a friend of mine came up to me and said to me, it was going to be Liquigas, and Astana, and our director already came to us and said, we've got to be in front. So there was the majority of us were in front, and then all of a sudden Astana guys were on the side, and then they just started riding. So it was a bit of a surprise because of the way Vino's been feeling, and the way the team's been performing, even though they haven't been going bad, but there's been such a lot of expectations from them. But people forget that Cloden's still, as far as I'm concerned, still the favorite. He's only 2 minutes down, and there's still 100 kilometers of time trials to go. So they're definitely one of the strongest teams, and still one of the favorites for the overall victory. So for them to try something like today, and Moreau didn't make it, so there's one less guy to worry about.
Congrats on a momentous day.
Thank you very much.
Yes, let's go back to the podium. Morrow out of the Hunter. Robbie Hunter's told us that, but this man very much still in it, although he doesn't like time trials. Michael Rasmussen, for a 4th day, leads the Tour de France for Denmark and for his Rabobank team, which is a Dutch team.
It's a Dutch team. They're the men of the flatlands, and that's why they were able to look after him this afternoon when we went through the Camargue, and he's experienced that very difficult crosswind. But he must now start to be wondering about how he's going to defend his lead in the individual time trials. I'm sure he's going to lose a certain amount of time, but we've got 3 massive days in the Pyrenees where he can still ride himself back into this race.
Another little look at the Michelob Ultra overall standings here. Rasmussen's the leader, 2:35 Valverde. The times haven't altered today. The positions have very slightly when we get lower down. Mayo is 3rd, Cadel Evans holds 4th, Contador 5th. They all finish with the leaders. There's the big danger man, Andreas Kloden, sits 6th. Leipheimer has come up from 9th to 7th at the moment, but it might change because of the timings being adjusted because of that crash. We'll see. As we look further down, Kashikin is 11th, right down to Linus Gerdemann in 15th. Let's go back to the podium. I think the green jersey is on his way out, or he's out already. There he is, Tom Bonen. No points today, and the gap has narrowed to 11 between him and Robbie Hunter.
Well, Tom Bonen, if he hadn't been involved in that little bit of a fracas on the run-in towards the finish line, I think would have been extending his lead in the overall classification. But that is what sprinting is all about. That's what the green jersey is all about. You have to fight on every day, and look where Robbie Hunter's sitting now.
In 2nd place, he's come up from 3rd. He's displaced Eric Zabel, who missed the move today, finished at the back. So did Hushoff, and so did Sebastian Chavanel. So there's no points for those boys. Big profit for Hunter. 35 he got for the win. Well, tomorrow, I'm not going to ever say it's going to be a routine day in the Tour, not after today. It is stage 12 tomorrow, and there is a hill on the route, and it's quite a steep one, Paul.
A very nasty climb down towards the end. It seems like an awful long time ago we left London to cross the channel and go down to the French mainland. But we're still staying in the southern part of France. We move away from Montpellier. The riders got a few small climbs, but that 2nd category climb towards the end may well go to the advantage of Robbie Hunter. We finish in the small town of Castres after 178 kilometers of racing.
Yes, and you can bet your life the weather will stay hot as well. We're expecting thunder to break this up very shortly. We'll be live tomorrow, as always, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time here on Versus. And in the evening, as with this evening, we'll show you our enhanced prime time coverage with Al and Bob, with plenty of guests and plenty of updates and deeper interviews as well. Well, the Tour de France today showed its other face. I have to say, I'm happy to see Vinokurov come back into this race. He's taken some knocks, but today he used himself and his team to show that he wasn't out of this race yet. Feel sorry for Christophe Moreau, Paul, but you've got to pay attention in the Tour de France, and you've got to try and not have a silly accident with your teammate. If you want all information and plenty of news and views, go to www.versus.com. And thanks to Giovanna for our wardrobe here. And I must say, this Tour now is, as it has been for the last 2 weeks, a really great race. Hope you're enjoying the coverage here on Versus. Live again tomorrow. Alan Bob tonight. Until tomorrow, from us, goodbye for now.